the orcs, right? They're the bad guys, who gives a shit? We just hack and slash and we loot their dead bodies, right? Hack and slash, kill them all, you know, conquer the infidels.
Boy, that campaign sounds like a barrel of fun, doesn't it?
Are you just a dream?
Double D.
A dream to some.
A nightmare to others!
Somebody who's opening a refrigerator and leaning in, right, is the language of a woman. Somebody who's opening the refrigerator and being cut off halfway through that lean is the voice of like a mermaid or a siren, right?
Honey, what do you mean additional benefits? We turned 65, we got Medicare. That's all there is to it, right?
I'm talking about Medicare Part C, commonly called Medicare Advantage. We have traditional Medicare, which is only Medicare Parts A and B, but not Part C.
Wait.
Honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough.
You gotta put a little hot sauce on the taco, you know what I mean?
We want this dwarf to be the dwarfiest dwarf.
Right.
We want the elf to be the elfiest elf.
And just the dashiest dash of Tabasco.
Their voices need to carry across water.
I'm a creative. It's a huge drain, right? Because fans can be awful.
You, the one who is moving now. Answer! Experience beige.
When you say white lives matter, they don't. White lives don't matter because white lives aren't a thing.
I disagree. I disagree, Gary.
Lutherville, Marina Del X, Otisburg. Otisburg?
Who's this monster? She's got her own place, man.
Otisburg?
It's a little bitty place.
Otisburg?
Okay, I just wipe it off. That's all. It's a little town.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Great sandwich!
Thank you. I enjoyed having you here. You're a very good co-host.
Hello. How is everybody doing? Looks like we already have a lively, it's a small but spirited house out there. Sure. All right, well, before he's chomping at the bits, but first I'm gonna bring on the man who stated his post throughout. Rogan, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Then we have the triumphant return of Mouse. Oh, hold on. Don't say a word, Mouse. Don't say a word. Don't say a word.
He's everywhere. I'll make mincemeat out of you, Mouse.
Now you can speak.
Okay. Hey, gang. It's good to be back. It's really good to be back. It's been 3 weeks, and backstage I was saying to Double D, I haven't seen the crew in a month.
Yeah.
Because we played on that Friday, and then out of town trips, and I couldn't play last week, so it's been 1 month back in the saddle.
It is good to see you again.
Thank you.
It is very good to see Mouse. He misses you guys. He really does. That is not a we're not buttering you up. Hi, Charlotte. How you doing? Nice to see you. Shark, how you doing, buddy? You talked to Shark this week. It's always fun talking to Shark in real life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But we have another person backstage, and I think everybody knows
and loves. There he is.
Put him at the top where he belongs.
Oh, fellas, that's too much now. Come on.
Greg Gillespie. How are you doing, sir?
I'm well. It's good to see everybody again. It's been a hot minute. Glad to see everyone's doing well, moving along.
We decided to leave you alone because we know you are hard at work on your own OSR rule set, correct?
Yes, I am hard at work.
So why don't you give the audience just a little background on what you're cooking? I think you've said before it's kind of a combo between basic and 1E, kind of like 0.75, right?
Yep, that's it. So the rules that I'm working on, again, halfway between BX and AD&D. I think it takes the simplicity of play, the simplicity of the engine from BX, and then adds the chrome of AD&D without any of the rules that Gygax didn't like as well. So I think it
Wait,
really
are you saying Gary didn't play the rules as written?
The thing is, I think like if you're say like a little bit newer on the scene, then it's important to understand how people played as BX and the AD&D books were being rolled out, right? So people were playing basic, or they were playing BX, and then as the monster manual rolled out, and then the player's handbook, and then the DM guide, you couldn't make a lot of it, and there were a lot of needlessly complex rules in there. So what you did is you kept the engine to keep the game moving quickly, but you added the classes of AD&D, the magic items, the spells, things like that. So that's effectively how people played as these things are being rolled out. I think that's really, really important to remember. And so the rules that I'm making is the one that I've been playing for decades at my table. It's how I prefer to play. It's how I play at conventions, and just bring it forward with the same production quality and art that my Mega Dungeons have. So things are cruising along. The one of the big art briefs that I just got back from Ken and James was he did all the sort of iconics for the class art for the cleric and druid and fighter and paladin and so on. So I'm putting those into layout, ordering more spot art, and I hope to have everything ready to go for Kickstarter in March.
Okay, cool.
Greg, when you reference Mega Dungeon, do you mean the Barrow Maze? Is that a Mega Dungeon? Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's right. So a Barrow Maze, Forbidden Caverns, Highfell, Dwaro Deep, and then the supplement is the Monster Manual.
Yeah, this is obviously we've said time and time again. Barrow Maze is one of the best experiences our tables had. For me to run it and the guys to play it, very rarely is that the case. But yeah, a lot of the monsters from there and all the other fantastic stuff Greg's done is in this monster manual. This is worth it. This is worth it.
Greg, you could have made it a little more deadly for my taste.
Only half the party died. Yeah,
only half of us bit it.
What's the head count on that one?
It's like a rite of passage. You have to die in Barrow Maze at least once.
Oh man,
I'm a softie though. I don't know. I hear these guys on Twitter. They're like, I love it when my players die. I never feel like that. It's like these guys put a little effort, a little thought into their guys, and I will. I roll the dice out in front of them, so I can't fudge.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm rolling double crits or something,
make no mistake, some of us double fudge.
You think? Well, we'll get into that a little bit later because there may have been.
I know there's a double. There's a double fudge freaking Keebler elf at the table, man.
I tell my players they control when I roll dice, with the exception of random monsters. So if they're pressing their luck or they choose to engage in a combat, that's one thing. And if you choose to do that, then I'm going to try to kill you because that's my job.
And in fairness, Double D always says, and it's an option we don't do a lot, is you can run. Like, you don't have to sit here and fight.
Yeah, I always want to make that clear. Like, don't feel like, oh, I have a sense that maybe Double D bought Barrow Maze or something like that. It's like, well, that doesn't matter. It's like if you guys want to turn tail and run or go into one room, grab what you can and get out, like it's a game show or something, that's fine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but of course, no guts, no glory, as they say.
Well, yeah, and I mean, they're trying to game the game that you're running, and you countermeasure and you game them back, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that you're keeping. How many of the kind of the traditional classes are you keeping for your rule set? Like you mentioned, paladin, fighter, cleric.
Yeah, so all the traditional races, all the traditional classes. The only addition into it are the Cyclopsmen, which appeared in Drow Deep. So that's my one little guilty pleasure. Otherwise, you can expect all the things you find in the core that is traditional classic fantasy role playing. They're gonna be there, and it does. It's the game I like to play. It's the and as a result, it reflects my values. So I don't think you have Dungeons and Dragons without the Western Eurocentric perspective. It's medieval Western Europe with magic. So those are the things that are important and relevant to me, and it's reflected in the art. And thereby reflected in the rule set. So I think that if you're looking for that kind of game that's grounded, that's in the core of what is medieval fantasy role playing, then I think you'll be very happy.
Is Darlene doing some of the art?
She has. She's actually just completed a full page illustration for me. So I was very excited to receive that. And I'm harassing other well-known ex-TSR folks. And so we'll see. Sometimes it takes a while.
Are we talking about perhaps somebody who did a very famous cover that is adorning my wall and maybe did a cover or two for you?
No, I haven't really talked to Errol too much. I mean, I've been harassing Easley and Den Beauvais, and unfortunately, Elmore's not taking any more commission work. But Darlene's been very kind to me, and I really appreciate that. So, yeah, I'm just, sometimes you got to work on people for a long enough time, and then eventually they cave.
Just like we used to say with women, just keep pestering them and they'll give in. But
Like
you say that nowadays. And it's,
Hey, Greg, Dark Knight has a question. I'll put it up there so Double D can read it for you.
Great.
And what's the implied setting of the new game, Greg? I think he may have just went over that kind of classic medieval European, right, Greg?
Yeah, that's correct. So, if I think it's really important, especially in this context when we get Wizards of the Coast doing a lot of dumb things and other people doing dumb things, some of which you've talked about on your show in the past. For me, I don't. I don't know. Like, to me, the Western Eurocentrism is absolutely part of it. There are two genders that's reflected in the language of the game. It's reflected in the art, and I think there's just a lot more reasonableness and common sense in the material that I'm writing, vis-a-vis some of the stuff I'm reading and some of the stuff that you've been talking about on your show. So we can write games that are reflective of our values as well, and that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, you kind of broached the subject there, and obviously it's been a lot of discussion, a lot of ripple effects about the whole Bro SR v OSR. I kind of gave my 2 cents last week, and maybe towards the end I'll reset it again because of course something happened in the interim. But I know you're not big on Twitter, or even on Twitter maybe. But
yeah, I'm on Twitter. But
oh, you are? Okay. So maybe you've kind of gotten a sense of like the whole Bro SR, and like let's put all the other stuff aside. Let's just talk about. I'll tell you what here. I will share the once again that we keep giving him views here. Jeff Rowe's blog. What is the Bro SR? So 1-to-1 time, aka Jeff Rowe Gaxian timekeeping. The game world is tied to the real world calendar, and for each day that passes in the real world, a day passes in the game world. It may sound strange, blah blah, blah. Now I had a hard time, Greg, wrapping my head around this, and no thanks to Mr. Jeff Rowe himself, who's does not have the gift of gab like we do. He was not very good at explaining this, but I did have Crafty Matt come in and kind of explain. He's like, well, if you think it may be kind of like a classic Bronstein game where you have a stable of characters, so maybe you're not running just one character. Your character did this last week, but they're not there right now, so you have like maybe an alternate character, I think. What is your view of this? Because it's kind of, I don't know if it's revolutionary or just kind of going back to the dawn of time. It's kind of the primordial soup of role playing. Are you down with one-on-one time?
Yeah, I mean, I am. That's how I run my games. So I guess the question really depends on how much interaction do you want about the game when you're out of game. So
yes.
So the question, if you're having one-to-one time and you're playing once every week or twice a month, then the players need to have enough. The player characters need to have enough money to sustain themselves in town during that time period. And then you can have things happen to them if they get thrown out on the street because they don't have enough gold yet. It also reflects the sort of the Robert Howard deal where, Conan would sort of do his thing and then he'd go and spend all his loot getting drunk and whoring and whatnot. And then eventually he would run out of money and have to go on another adventure. So it does fit that pretty well. And I've got like carousing rules that I use that players can engage in if they want to attempt to, it's kind of like high stakes gambling out of game. So and then you would address that in your group chat or whatever during the week. And it gives actually players an opportunity to sort of interact and then decide what they're going to do the next time you get together in game. So I've done one-to-one and but you really have to have you have to be meeting consistently to do that. And if we didn't meet for whatever reason, then I would just say, okay, time stops at this point. We'll pick it up at another. And as long as you're clear with players and everyone's good with it.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know how you were going to come down on that. And I don't know if we've ever done it that formalized, but there has been times, where I've said, hey guys, during this week, or let me know what your characters are doing during, some downtime. So I do understand that. I'm trying to figure out if it would be annoying to maybe be pestered about this stuff throughout the week or not. I guess if you have like a regular job. I mean, I probably wouldn't be. The way my job is, I can kind of I can work on this stuff if I need to.
It's not really time consuming. But like, so, and the fun thing is if the carousing goes wrong and then you as the DM have to adjudicate what exactly happens, that's actually it can add a lot of texture and fun out of the game and bring people to the table energized or deflated, depending on what happens while you're out of game.
Well, the Bro SR should hire you because their leader was on an infamous interview last week, and all he could do, Rogan, right, was talk about the Lindy Hop and weightlifting.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, just give me coordinates. Tell me what you're talking about. And Greg managed to do it like that. Like I said, this guy couldn't sell ice to I don't know.
Well, it's been, just to give you an example, like I had players that one wanted to craft a new spell. So then that would be something in your downtime when you're in between gaming, or somebody wanted to write a scroll. So those things you can all accommodate in that one-to-one out of game time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now that of course, like I said, I kind of didn't want to get into it, but obviously there's all the other stuff about the Bro SR, that they're trolls and worse. And certainly, Jeffro himself has said a couple things which I think at least need some explanation. But it does kind of prove that okay, if these guys would just cut down the signal to noise ratio, maybe they do have some points to make, and they're not doing themselves any favor just by tormenting pundit. Well, I mean they basically took Pundit off Twitter, which is pretty low in my opinion. Regardless of what you think, I didn't appreciate that at all. I thought that was very womanly of them to do, and I do hope he gets his Twitter back. Now, how he uses it, I don't know if he'll change the way he goes after these guys, but I don't know. What about some of these other things, Greg? Faction play, Chansonian patrons. I still don't know what a Chansonian patron is. You may have noticed that high-level characters don't really do much except give out quests and missions to the PCs in a conventional game. The BroSR hands these roles over to players that don't necessarily even show up to game sessions. What is mere scenery in most other games turns into a constantly developing backdrop that influences player character activities in countless ways. What say you?
No interest.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a time when you guys had like high enough characters like that. I guess they just kind of turned into NPCs at a certain point. And I guess maybe I took them over, right?
I had one character last a long time, and he became an NPC, and then he was forced into action when one of my characters passed away.
Yeah.
And my current longest running character just became an NPC in Brosen.
Yeah, you wanted to take him out of action for a while.
And that's I did, and it made sense for him to be out of action, and I think he'll remain out of action. But Linus in the last campaign passed away, so I have to come up with a new character.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah. We have
Rogan, anything to say?
It's just natural. Well, with Birthright, how we're running that campaign, it is natural to get to a certain point where, a character gets to a certain age or gets to a certain point, and new blood has to come in.
I mean, like I said, I'll take him over. I mean, I'll try to. There's been times where I've taken over a person's old character that's maybe has gone up, or they want to like step down from, and they've kind of continued. In fact, Captain Stern has one right now.
It's from our point of view, and me and Stern were actually talking about this. It's hard to watch you play him.
Yeah.
Because
I can
different, because maybe you might say or do something that our character would not. That's out of character.
Yeah, and that's why I try to minimize that, or sometimes I'll at least say like, "Hey, what do you think about? I think your guy's going to do this. Is that okay?" And sometimes you guys will be like, that's fine. But I am painfully aware. That's why I don't.
Yeah,
they're not like
take them over.
Recurring.
Correct. Yep.
Does that happen with you, Greg? Do you have to take over X players, or do you?
I've never done that. And quite honestly, I don't know how they're giving out experience points, because the advancement is glacial in old school D&D. So I mean, if you get to 5th level, you win Dungeons and Dragons. So I can't imagine, like, if you're just players never really last that long. They always end up killing themselves or getting TPK'd or something like that.
For sure. Well, I think we got a super chat here. Chaotic Evil Bard, $2. Thank you. A lot of wankery going on between Pundit and the BroSR. That is correct. To a lot of folks, detrimental effect. And
I think the main item is that they want AD&D as written. Is that correct?
No. Rules as written. And they seem to be aware that Gary didn't play that way, but they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, okay. You get into this circular loop, because last week I actually read a passage from the rules, officially rules, where Gary says, you can eject certain things. He's basically saying, like, learn the rules, and where the rules are not spelled out, you can add to them. But, if you need to take things out, you can.
Well, Greg, I have a question for you about something you just brought up. At 5th level, you kind of win, because do you think starting at 5th level, your character kind of gets more powerful and it's harder to have a fair fight, or how do you mean that?
Well, again, advancement is so slow, and at 1st through 3rd level, players are usually more willing to do stupid things because there's nothing to lose. But once you start hitting like 4th level, certainly by 5th, they have something to lose. And smart players, veteran players anyway, usually become more conservative in their play style. So that's always been my experience. You know,
I agree with that, because usually at 5th level in Double D's campaigns, your character, at least 3 of my 4 in his campaign, have then started a family or something like that. And you're correct. I don't do stupid stuff anymore.
That's why his last one retired. He's like,
Yeah.
I got the hottest wife in
all the
all of Hanier. I got a kid now. It's like I'm gonna step aside for a little bit.
Was it around that time where Gil became the regent of the
Mhm.
land?
Mhm.
I think in that area there, 5th or 6th level, I think.
Yeah, it's to me, it's a sweet spot of the game too. I think the game is at its best in like 4th, 5th, 6th level.
I agree with that. When you get too high, everything is so definite. Like your wizards have power words and make this save or you're dead.
Yeah, save or die starts to come in, and
So I exactly understand when Greg explained that. I totally get it.
do you have a sweet spot, Greg? Level wise?
Yeah, I enjoy like 3rd level. When you just get access to some 3rd, 4th, 5th level, when you just get access to some new spells, you can take on some more interesting monsters. But the struggle's real, and of course the fun is in the play of those characters as they're struggling between levels, and that's the sweet spot for me. Once you hit a certain point where you can give a lot of damage and take a lot of damage, the nature of the game changes. And then I think it's important to remember too, and one of the reasons why you'd never play rules as written. People need to remember that AD&D was crafted to keep Arneson from getting royalties. So that's why it had a lot of these dumb weapon speed factors and these other things to make it needlessly complex and to modify the game from its form to avoid giving Arneson royalties. That doesn't mean they're good rules. It doesn't mean that they're fun rules. It means it was changed for political reasons. And I'm not playing a game based on whether or not somebody got royalties. So that's not fun to me.
Hey, let's hit pause for a second, because people in the chat are confused with what games we're actually talking about. Jeff wants to know, what game are we playing where 5th level is the end? And then someone responded back to Jeff, it beats me. So which games are we talking about?
Well, I think Greg was referring to traditional D&D.
Yeah.
Now look, in 5e,
BX and AD&D was what I was referring to.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought. Now in 5e, 5th level is more like 11th level in original BX and advanced. So, yeah, so I think we're talking more like old school, even like Castles and Crusades. Now that we have a taste of that, kind of dialing it back a little bit.
There you go, chat. We got that solved for you.
Yeah, it's right. It's right. So, you do not have for your game, do you, like dwarf and elf as class, right, Greg?
No, they're separated.
Yeah, I never understood. I never even quite understood it back then, and it seems like a lot of folks, who make their OSR rules, that they seem sort of beholden to that. And I'm like, you don't have to copy everything. I said it's kind of dumb. They're a race. They're not a class.
Well, I played both for long periods of time, and for me personally, at the table, there's no difference. The game plays equally well. It's just pandering to players at the end of the day. I think the game plays perfectly well with race as class or separated. It's just that we do have some baggage over time, because Gygax himself even positioned BX and Basic as sort of kiddie D&D, and you want to play like the real adult game, and that's AD&D. And again, that was for royalty reasons that he was putting that stuff out. So we have this baggage in the past that race as class is just that's what the kids did, but I don't see it that way. I don't hold that baggage.
Yeah, I did a video on that little while back, kind of talking about how BX was perceived back in the day, and as perfect as people think it is now, like back then, people couldn't wait to get rid of it. Like it was the kiddie game. Like I remember going to Gavin Morgan, like when I first met him, like, oh yeah, I got D&D, I got the red box. He's like, oh yeah, but you got to get the advanced player's handbook. You got to get the advanced DM's guide. Oh man, really? Okay. But I'm like, once I did it, I'm like, oh cool, this is a lot better because I'm a 12-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid, and it's just you want to be playing the grown-up stuff.
Sure.
Greg, you're so sneaky. People are asking you questions, and I'm about to ask them, and you're filling in the answers.
Sorry.
You should just come here, make the drive, and just co-host this show, and I can slide over a spot. It's not a big deal.
Definitely. Give me an
I don't
invite.
We talked about that.
I don't even see you typing.
The man is very talented. So tell us about
definitely using race, none of that species garbage. All the common. I think one of the things that I lament most about what Wizards of the Coast has done in the game is they've changed the common language. The common language is that hit dice equals 1d8 hit points, right? And you shouldn't change that. When you change the language, now you make it even harder for different generations of players to interact with the common language. And so that's the common language is something I'm aware of. It's important and it needs to be there.
When you were talking about 1d8 equals hit dice or something like that, one of my characters in Double D's campaign, he was second level, and I never changed that like on the computer. So when my character went up a level, I said to Double D, is this right? Like, am I rolling 2d8 for my hit point? I was a rogue, and I was doing 2d8 hit points.
Yeah.
And then I had like a +1 con or something like that. So I was getting a modifier, and I said, my guy went up, and I rolled like a 7 and a 6. I'm like, my guy just went up like 14 hit points in one level.
I was wondering why you were surviving those fights.
Yeah,
so
all the time. Yeah,
I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
My guy's got my hip. Like, and we'd go around and like, me and Mrs. Double D sit next to each other at the table, and we're looking at hit points, and I'm like, man, I got like twice as many as you do. Oops.
Time for an audit. Time for the
Which
account.
You gotta engage in some surveillance on those character sheets from time to time.
I do. Ask Rogan occasionally because he's always like the butt kicking fighter. So I'll be like, "Are you sure about that, Rogan?" He's always legit.
I encourage an audit every once in a while. Not just, for my guy, because I don't really read all the rules as much as these other guys do, but like, just for helping. And also I like, as I'm sitting there watching things play out, I'm like, is that legit? Like,
well, it's that couple levels of soldier.
Oh yeah, I took a level of soldier.
Infamous at our table.
I have a stone skin.
All right, so one other thing here, Greg, as far as like the Bro SR, 1 to 10 scaling, aka chainmail scale battles. Bro SR campaigns spontaneously generate exciting battles that integrate individual player characters and large army factions. I don't know if that's necessarily unique to the Bro SR, because D&D rules derive from a medieval miniatures game. It is trivial to resolve them without coming up with variant systems. Trivial to resolve them without coming up.
That's just nonsense. It's just gobbledygook.
Yeah. That's
like if the person's saying, do you occasionally include some large scale battles? Well, yeah, you should definitely do that. How you choose to do that is up to you, though. You don't have to reach out to chainmail, although you could, and I know lots of people that have, and that's fine. But it's what your table likes. Do that.
It's kind of how I felt too. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to skin that cat. Some people just do it narratively, and I know Birthright has actually a pretty decent just card system where you can do these large battles and you can involve the players. If you want to get a little bit more into detail that way, chainmail's fine, but just kind of this warship of oh man, this the chainmail rules from 1973 are gospel. I don't know. I don't see it. So it sounds like you're like 1 for 3 or 1 for 4 maybe on the Broasar. So you do agree with part of their stuff, but a lot of the other stuff you're not down with.
It seems like some
Yeah, the
people
one-to-one time I think is good if you're playing regularly. If you're not playing regularly, then it's a different story. And it's also one-to-one gets more interesting. Like, let's say you have a pool of players. Say you have a pool of 8 players. On any given night, 4 or 5 of those 8 show up. Well, now the other people are just doing their thing in town. They're not necessarily excluded from the game. They're just not there that night. So they're off carousing or going on a bender or doing whatever in town. And then that's how, and I never end. I don't let players sleep in or near the dungeon. It ends back at town. And we always accommodate that time at the end of a session. So everyone's now back at town. Now you can do one-to-one because timing, because everyone's off on their own doing whatever.
You were going to say something, Rogan?
Well, I was going to say that mass combat system, we read about it in various things over the years, and it seems like it's a holy grail people are looking for. It's the perfect, mass combat.
Yeah.
And like you said, there are a number out there that are legit, useful, and fun. The Birthright one.
Yeah, I think even the rules cyclopedia, had reference to like a mass combat system, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which is still basic, but you could, of course, easily incorporate it. Yeah, I think that's one that's best handled by how you like to run games. Look, a lot of people are just kind of like, no, we're just going to narrate it, and maybe you guys will affect the battle by what you do, and that's perfectly fine.
Kind of like on that episode of Game of Thrones when Jaime Lannister, like, they didn't show all the battles; they just showed him walking through like the wounded. You don't need to. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just do your own.
That might have been the episode where he went and poisoned that old lady.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Tell Cersei it was me.
Have you watched the new
Dragon?
Yeah.
No, I'll wait until a little bit later. Not until it's over, but
delayed a little bit.
So it's like not until next fall, I heard, right? That's correct. Fall of 24. So
fall of 24 for what? I'm sorry.
Dragon.
Yeah, the new Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon.
Right.
I have not watched it.
Have you watched it, Greg?
House of the Dragon? Yeah, twice.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah, I did. There's some of the items that undergird most film and television are present in House of the Dragon, which is just sort of like a yawn. But once you get past that point, you can enjoy it for what it is. But they can drop the intersectional feminism at any point. It's just boring now. It's not interesting.
It's there, but it's not. It could be worse. And I always think it's funny how, despite their best efforts, Matt Smith steals every scene he's in.
He does.
He's the highlight of the show. It's like, sorry, it's the white guy. I mean, despite your best efforts, it is the white guy. But more or less, I think it could have been a lot worse on the intersectional front. And story is not too bad.
My wife
watched it. I enjoy it.
My wife watched it, and I was doing stuff on the computer in the room next to where our TV is, and I recognized one of the voices, and she was on a TV show I watched called Nurse Jackie. She played like an English doctor.
Oh, really?
So I recognized one of the actresses already. I'm like, I know that voice. Greg, while you're still with us, Charlotte had a question for you about rule for I'll put it up. The rule for role management.
Realm management. Yeah, generational play. Yeah. Is that going to be in your set of rules, Greg?
Not really, because I'm a minimalist when it comes to world building. I don't even like the term world building. You don't need it. Like a relatively open game with rumors and small dungeons or big ones that you can parachute in are really all you need. And then you can you can create the rest, because players really don't care about that stuff. They just want to get into dungeons and start dungeon crawling and wailing on monsters and so on. So I think a lot of that stuff, people just break their backs generating it. And then how often does that material articulate with play at the table? And it's not really all that often unless they go seeking it. And at that point, you can generate what you need to generate. So
I can kind of confirm that, just kind of based on Birthright, because that was one of the main focuses of Birthright. When I first got it in '95, we were like, oh, cool, they got realm stuff. And I didn't start my players off in that regard. But one of them did get there to where they were doing the nuts and bolts of running a realm for a period of time. And I would say this, it's a good gimmick. It did lead to some role-playing opportunities, but after a while we were like, okay, let's figure out a way we can get you out of the throne room, so to speak, and adventuring again, because it kind of...
Was that Greg's character? Whose character was...
Actually it was Gavin's
Gavin?
character. Gavin had, was running a small realm for a while, and then Greg's character, went on to, become bigger and better. But so yeah, we did it once. Glad we did it, but I've never touched those rules again. So as long as our campaign's been going since '95, I've used those rules once. So coming up on once in 30 years. Now if you can, I'm not saying there's not ways out there where you can use those rules to generate something really special, but that was just my experience. It's kind of cool, but it's going to get kind of boring after a while. It's going to be like a board game almost.
Yeah, I mean that dungeon treasure is not going to plunder itself. I mean, you got to get in there.
Yeah.
There can be, there can be good house intrigue. There can be assassins, there can be, you can have, a Billy Carter, Hunter Biden brother or something, making things miserable for you, or you can have you can be seduced by a sorceress. All kinds of stuff can happen.
Slash succubus.
Well, I mean, yes, that's all true, but at the end of the day, it's how are you giving out your experience points? And I believe very firmly in the 10 to 1. You're taking out gold at 1 to 1, but you're really not getting the value from monsters. So you want to get into the dungeon, you want to avoid combat the best you can, steal the treasure, and get out. And I think when that change was made, flipping it in reverse in favor of killing monsters rather than plundering treasure, that changed the whole nature of Dungeons and Dragons. So it depends how you're giving out experience points. And I believe very firmly in keeping it on the gold. And the monsters are there, and then it's, are you feeling lucky, or is your plan good enough to dupe the monsters or to sneak around them or do whatever it is you're going to do? And if you're giving out experience points for, say, I don't know, throne room role play or diplomatic efforts, that's a different game, I think.
Greg, I had a question for you. Since you made earlier in this discussion, but also in other ones, sometimes not all your players show up at one time. When you're handing out experience in your parties, is it common for them to have different levels? Like your party could have like a 3rd, 4th, or a 5th level person all mingling together?
Yep.
Yeah. We've done that as well. We've had
I like that.
Yeah, we've had a character be 2 levels higher. It was me. Like I was 2 levels higher than people for a while.
Yeah, that's perfectly normal. And like, even if you line up experience points by class and by level, you're going to have people, like the thief is going to level first, so and probably keep leveling first by and large. The cleric is one of the most painful, slow processes. I was just reviewing those tables the other day, and I enjoy playing clerics. So that's always been like a thorn in my side, how slowly they level. But I mean, it encourages people to come to play if you want the experience points. So there's that.
I really, one thing I really like, that even though we're not playing the rule system, we know we're doing CNC, but the Dungeon Crawl Classics, the priests have to make a spellcast check, and they could really screw things up with their deity. And I don't know. I think something like that can be kind of cool. It could probably be kind of annoying for the priest character, but they have that whole system, where maybe they have to atone for it or do stuff like that. I'm kind of in the corner that maybe there should be something like that in casting spells, because right now in Castles and Crusades, it's like I cast it, it's done. It works.
Yeah, I mean, one of the criticisms of the Vancian magic system is that it's effectively technology. So there is no mystery, wild magic or whatever, miscasting, things of that nature. So on that level, I do appreciate everything that you're saying, and I think DCC sort of hits that spot that AD&D missed out on. However, if you're running a game and you're reading like new stuff and you've got your nose in it all the time, but then some of your players, they only interact with the game when they sit down at the table. And for those people, they need, magic missile's magic missile and fireball's fireball. And because that's the game they know, and they're not going to spend any time reading anything else outside of gaming. So although that's one of the things you have to recognize is that although, we're vested and we're interested and we're reading old forums and what did Gygax say on this and what do my players want? A lot of people, they just want to sit down and play akin to a board game and know that the spells are what they expect.
Well said. Jeff Hatch, $10 super chat, also a channel subscriber. Thank you so much, Jeff. One of the loyal blood, working his way into the inner circle, right, Rogan?
One step closer to the inner circle.
Yeah, we're creating the inner circle. We're not exactly sure what that means yet.
I am keeping track of the steps.
All right. Will there be 33 degrees like a Mason or okay? Jeff Hatch, $10 super chat. I agree with Greg on this one. Most of my players' experience points comes from treasure and deeds, not combat. So they think of ways to get past creatures without combat.
Yeah,
fair enough.
You're not regular army, you're the SAS. And if you think of it like that, sneak, connive, lie, cheat, do whatever you have to do, but avoid the combat, get the treasure.
I have a follow-up question then for Jeff Hatch. It also says later he does experience points every session. Mm-hmm. So how often, Jeff, do your characters go up in level if you're doing experience every week or every time you play?
And you too, Greg, let us know how often you give out experience.
Well, that's going to depend on what they encounter that session, right? So regardless of how you're delivering experience points, now you should give it out at the end of each session. Sometimes if you're pressed for time, somebody's got to leave or whatever, maybe you do it in the group chat later in the week.
If you leave early, you don't get shit.
So,
stay to the end, people.
There's that. But, it depends. Like sometimes there's an outrageous haul of treasure. It's just the way it works out. And other times there's a TPK. It takes half the session to create new characters and off you go. So it really depends. I don't think there's a cookie cutter there.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe I should start doing it more regularly. I just kind of wait and I'm like, all right, there's been a preponderance of stuff that's happened. Like, all right, let's count that treasure because Gavin Morgan is the treasure keeper and he does keep pretty good notes. So no, he keeps good notes. He does. Yeah. No.
Yeah, if you don't have a good treasure keeper, then you need to get one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife was the map. She had to map Barrow Maze.
She did a great job.
Yes, she did.
She did a really good job.
She ended up like, where's this going? And she's like, well, go get the masking or go get the Scotch tape. I have to tape a piece of paper here. So it was like the most odd thing.
That's awesome.
It was very irregularly shaped.
It was.
But she
kept it together.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, I had a great mapper too. And he would take the map away. And during the week, he'd study it. And he's like, there's a little section right here that's not filled in. We need to go look for secret doors in this area because he kind of knew how I operate. So, yeah.
Yeah, these guys will do that occasionally too. They're kind of not quite metagaming, but being like, well, there is a suspicious area here. I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
Have you now? I'm just taking a little bit of a break here. We're playing a game I've actually always wanted to play. I actually think I ran it about 24 years ago, just for like literally a 2-session thing. But Traveler, have you ever played or ran Traveler, Greg?
No, I haven't. I'm only really interested in medieval fantasy. I would play sci-fi games as maybe a one-off, but it's not what I want to do with my RPG time.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge sci-fi fan too, so I certainly don't mind running it. Even better now, I guess I get to play it. Stern is going to run it, so
nice.
He is on the clock. So yeah, but it was just kind of interesting because we spent the whole last session, and I'm sure even just by osmosis you've heard about, kind of Traveler has this kind of involved backstory history process for making the characters. So we went through that, and it really was kind of interesting. You're rolling for stuff, and you're taking your character in 4-year chunks. What are they going to do? Oh, you roll on this event table. So I think it led a lot of us to be like, well, I kind of had this vision for my character to start with, but maybe he took a left turn at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you can sit down with the
Speaking of sci-fi games, have you ever played the Aliens board game by Leading Edge from the late 80s?
No.
It's outstanding.
No, is it?
Oh, it's terrific. I made a custom board with Herstart's dental plaster. Yes, it's
you had that stuff, huh?
Yeah. So basically, it replicates the reactor room scene from the James Cameron film Aliens.
Okay.
And the Marines have to go from one side of the reactor to the other side and escape, while aliens are randomly generating as they move across the board.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I think a few years back, a company made. They didn't call it Alien, but man, it's supposed to have played like Alien, and God, I can't remember it. It has the number 7 in it. So
chat, if you got that, help us out.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody in the chat.
Stern, if you're listening, hit that freaking Google.
Yeah, he wouldn't. Oh yeah. Well, he could do the coupon. I could just go upstairs and look at the bookshelf because I remember because we were ready to play it one night. And all these guys canceled. So I had it like all set up and ready to go. I'm like,
oh no,
this is gonna be just like Alien, and then like something happened. I mean, this is like years ago, so I don't even know what it was. Greg is such a good. Yes, Cal, thank you very much for Patrol on the Ground. And yes, he is an awesome guest.
So I'm not sure if you saw any of my social media, but I was in Ireland for 2 weeks visiting Neolithic burial sites.
That's cool.
Really?
That's really cool.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Give us a little primer on that. By the way, Pundit says that he ran in his Albion campaign, he ran Barrow Maze too. So there you go. You're in good company. But yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so basically it was research for my next Mega Dungeon book, and I hit all the major Neolithic sites in Ireland. So Newgrange and Carrow Keel, Carrow Moor, and then once I hit all the burial mounds that I wanted to see, I started looping around to the southwest to check out some standing stone sites. So it was just really like some of them were a good hike. Like one was like 2,200 feet up.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah, and there was not a good trail, and it was really broken ground. And I just, I climbed the hell out of the mountains and hills in Ireland, and got some great images.
So that knowledge was earned.
Say again?
That knowledge was earned.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the payoff, right? So you trudge up these hills and whatever, and then the payoff is that the barrows are up there, usually on hilltops, and then you get the view when the weather cooperates.
How do they differ from the ones in Scotland?
Well, so a lot of them, the ones that I saw in Ireland, they're stone cairns. So they may have been covered in earth at one point. That's not conclusive, but the cairns are there. And within each time I stood in front, I took out my phone to check the compass directions to see what orientation, which direction they're facing, whether they would hit the winter solstice or perhaps the summer equinox. So that was kind of interesting, and the exactness of these things is really inspiring when you consider they're 5,500 years old.
That's crazy.
5,500
It
years.
is wild.
Yeah. You sneak in a super chat here. Vid for $2. Thank you so much, Vid, for the super chat. Sword of Cepheus equals Classic Traveler Fantasy Edition. Sword of Cepheus. I'll have to check that out. I know I've heard of it before. Don't know if I've ever actually looked into it, but I will do a little Googling after the show when I am unwinding. So thank you. Yeah, that must have been that must have been a real treat to go over there. My daughter went over to Ireland a couple of years ago. And she just
school trip, correct?
Yeah, it was a school trip. Yeah, but it was just beautiful. She said even on the kind of standard school tour, just how beautiful a land it is.
Yeah, if there was like a common tourist area, I was in the opposite of those places.
Yeah. Which you can do, when you're man of a certain age, you go your own direction, right?
That's exactly it. Yeah. I just wanted to commune at the top of some of these hills, and it's just really like it strikes you how close people live to the agrarian cycle, and the extent to which they lived in communion with nature, and then reflected vis-a-vis this digital, hypermobile, meaningless at times existence we live in cyberspace. So it struck me how much we've lost as opposed to how much we've gained.
$2 super chat from Vid. You heard of it because I told you twice now, dummy. LOL. Mouse, can you remind me to make sure I look up Sword of Cepheus when we go upstairs after this?
Yep.
I do not. Eric C wanted to show off his basement last week, and I just, with everything that was happening, it was things we were just getting carried away with stuff. I completely forgot
last week, if I'm not mistaken.
What's that?
You got hacked last week.
Oh yeah, I got hacked.
And you were
for sure.
probably
Yeah, I got hacked. Yeah, so it's what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So yeah, I had that on my mind, but but I felt so bad. I reached out to Eric. I'm like, how do I get a hold of him? How do I get a hold of him? So I don't know. I always feel bad about that kind of stuff. So yes, Vid, I will check out Sword of Cepheus. Don't know if I will buy it, but I will look into it. And Mouse, his memory is a sharp.
It drives Mrs. Mouse absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he is always right when it comes to matters of recall. Now, your mother, I understand yesterday she wanted a burnt hot dog.
Oh my gosh! So we had our 4th of July at our house, and I made some sausages and some cheeseburgers, and we had some ribs and such. My mom kept just proclaiming she wants a hot dog, but it needs to be burnt. And she must have told everybody at this freaking cookout about this burnt hot dog that she was waiting for. And I said, well, it'll just be a couple more minutes. So she proceeded to muster up her bun and stand at the front of the buffet line, just waiting for this burnt hot dog that, again, was a couple minutes away. So she literally slowed everything down to a grinding halt. And she is the matriarch of the family, and what she says kind of goes. So we all kind of had to just wait until this burnt hot dog made its appearance.
Oh,
and I wanted to be like, Mom, can you just step aside so everyone else can get anything on their plate? But she is my mother, and I did not do that. So the buffet line came to a grinding halt. And I told Mrs. Mouse today, well, the hot dog problem will be solved because we'll never have them again on our grill. So
hot dogs are verboten.
Goodness gracious.
I had a brat yesterday. It was good. My son bought a house with his fiance, so they were literally just bought it a week ago, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna have we're gonna have a 4th of July party. So went over to that. It was very nice.
Good.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah, it's amazing. You know, you think about where they were, and it seems like just yesterday, and then all of a sudden they're standing in their own house.
Isn't that crazy? I texted this to Rogan this week. I feel like we're walking and time is running.
Yes.
Yeah. It is just crazy how fast things are going right
That hit
now.
me. That when I read that morning, that did hit me. And I think about all raising my kids and all the all the roads I went down with them to get to them to a certain point, realizing those roads I'll never travel again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Time does speed up. I mean, it is true. I'd heard that, and it's like, well, is it really true?
Oh yes, it
true.
is.
It is true.
That's the way it's supposed to be. It is.
I wanted to get Greg's view on one final thing here before he has to leave. Okay, this is of course Griff. If you haven't seen, Secrets of Blackmore.
Before you start, Double D, we got an Australian super chat. I think when you convert that over, it's $100.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mercurius Olicus, channel member. Thank you so much. Greetings, chaps. Greetings to you, my friend. Good to see you here.
Another step closer to the inner circle.
There you go.
That's
Yep.
right. It's
there is a map. Someone has it.
We may be making it still, but so this is from Griff, and he just tweeted this today. And is freeform RPG play a dying art? I don't want to argue about it. It's a simple fact that free modern D&D and similar games play differently than later editions. That's
better.
Undeniably true. Yeah, better.
Better is to say what it is.
For sure. For sure. Been looking at how, and I think you would agree, been looking at how RPG culture breaks down. According to in this article here, he quotes an article on comicbook.com. Old schoolers are now a minority within RPG culture, with only 11% of gamers being 40 years old and up. I don't agree. I just, man, the field test.
No, I don't agree with that.
Right.
I don't either.
Can you repeat that, Double D?
I said I don't.
No, the statistic.
The stat. Yeah, it's old school players, 40 years old and up, over 40s, are only, according to this article, 11%. Greg and I call bullshit.
I agree.
11%? No way. It just doesn't pass the sniff test. I know we're getting a lot of younger folks coming into, and that's great. That's fine. But 11%, no.
I tell you what, whoever did this has never been to Gen Con and sat around a table like we have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's you're getting probably one of the better samples there. Yeah, no way 1 out of every 10. No way.
40? Well, I mean, if you just took a sample size, 11% is low, but if you took a sample size of our table, it's 2 out of our 8. 25% is under 40.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 80% at our table.
Yeah, but we have a very unique kind of table. Very, very, very stable.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt that it's.
Although
it's
actually it might be
a little
different.
bit.
I don't know how old Pew Pew is. He might be under 40.
He's I think encroaching up on it.
So it's 3 out of 8 at our table.
I imagine yours, Greg, is all around or all old schoolers.
Well, I've typically had a few undergrads that have been in my classes and moved on who have played in my games. So we've always had, I would say that the core is certainly over 40, and then there have been people that have been younger that have also played. I think one of the things that post misses is that the reach of the OSR, we've always punched above our weight. And we've punched above our weight because we're the collective memory of the hobby. We have seen all the nonsense. We have edition fatigue, and we know how this goes. And I think a lot of people that have come to Dungeons & Dragons relatively new in 5th edition or perhaps fourth, but probably fifth. Haven't figured that out yet, but they're about to, with the increase of the books going up and this nonsense about online gaming and all that stuff. So I think the best thing that ever happened to the OSR was fourth edition. Because fourth edition, people are just like, okay, that's it. I've had it. This is not Dungeons and Dragons. And then so then the OSR saw a big boost. And as long as WotC pushes this online stuff, you're going to get, and then the identity politics alongside that. Those are things that are going to push people to other games as well. So at the end of the day, people. We have the stereotype that people that enjoy gaming aren't social, but that doesn't hold up. We want to be social. That's why we want to sit down at the table and roll dice with our friends. And that's never going to come out of the hobby. And you can play online, and if you're stuck and no one's around you and online is all you've got, hey, online the hell out of that thing. But if you have a choice of playing it, you can't replace playing at the table.
Agreed.
No, you can't.
Yeah, like if someone's trying to BS their way past the city guards and you're trying to role play that at the table, like that's where the magic happens. And pushing digital pieces, overpriced pieces on a online gaming surface is not my idea of fun.
No, not at all. No.
Well, you kind of broached the subject, and the news came out this past week. I think a couple of people did. I know Pundit did a video on it, a couple others too. This is just from Wizards of the Coast's website, but you can't buy physical only D&D books from Wizards of the Coast anymore. They will sell you a bundle of physical books and PDFs that you have to pay, of course, a little vig on, a little extra, or they will sell you gladly probably only PDF copies.
So you can't buy like a player's handbook anymore
from Wizards of the Coast.
But you can at the store.
Exactly. Now you can get it, of course, from your friendly local game shop, right, whatever. But if you're buying, but they've made the decision, and people have said, like, well, they're going this direction. They want to minimize the amount of physical books that they have to deal with. And one reason is just kind of tying them to like, okay, if you want one, you better buy a PDF with it, because you can't just buy physical only anymore.
Salami's got a mouse dropping for us.
Salamani, my old friend, Australian $5. Thank you so much. Not sure it's even D&D if it's online. It's such a pale imitation. Yeah, I mean, unless, as Greg said, I mean, if that's your only option, thanks again, Salamani. If that's your only option, it's better than nothing. But I think a lot of people kind of shortchange themselves and are like, well, I guess I just, I'm too old to go make a new group, or I don't want to deal with it, or
I think, don't you think though, if you went to the local store where you play across from the school, if you went there and you didn't, like, you were just going there for the first time ever, don't you think, in all fairness, you'd be met with open arms? Like, why would somebody be, if you're a gamer and you want a game, you would just showed up. Like, people would invite you in to play.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not even if you were looking for a game and they had room, they would gladly.
100%. I agree with
that.
It
may not be the game you want to play, maybe because in a lot of these places,
but then
they
your
are just
foot's
playing
in the
fifth
door,
edition.
and now you know what you do. You talk to the proprietor, and you just say, next time you guys are, or if you have a group that comes in and plays, whatever, I want to play D&D, but today they played Traveler. Oh, we got a D&D game on Tuesdays.
Yeah, it comes down to social skills, which are a little rusty these days.
But even if they are rusty, the people maybe at that store might have rusty social skills as well.
Yeah, but it's still, I guess if you have that, it's probably hard to just even walk out the door and do that. Just say, make up your mind and be like, all right, I am going to go down to the store. I am going to announce, hey, anybody got a game? I mean, look, I can do it fine, but even for me, sometimes I'm like, a little like, maybe like nervous. Maybe not so much now, but I couldn't imagine if I was, maybe, a bit out of practice, or maybe even have a little, maybe on the spectrum a little bit, or something like that.
Well, Don just hit me up and said not all game stores are friendly. I'm in a big city, and most game stores are playing Magic: The Gathering.
Carter's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, like if it's just an online game, why have conventions? I mean, there's no point in having conventions anymore. And so I think that I think it needs to be primarily a tabletop hobby with a digital option for the people that want to play with their old gaming buddies who are scattered across the country, or if you live in a really rural area where you don't have anybody else to play with, then yeah, those are great options. But I think there's a lot of people out there that they might hear somebody speak and then they're like, geez, it would be really great to go to a convention and play in that person's game. I know I certainly felt that way about playing with some of the TSR people that would go to North Texas, for example, and that needs to be, that's the core of the hobby, and the other stuff around it is just noise. And if you're not designing and playing for the table, then you're doing something that's secondary, and that's just my take on it.
Well, going, talking about this in regards to Wizards of the Coast's decision, not to sell hard copies via their site, does that mean that they're going to lessen the amount that brick and mortar stores get? I don't
think so. I don't think so. And to be fair, again, they will sell you bundles from their site of physical books and PDFs. They just won't sell physical only.
But it is a kind of a bit of a tactic in regards to forcing people digital.
Yeah, of course, because they want to make their money on the VTT. Right. They want to get people subscribed to that. And I mean, from a business point of view, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense from just health of the hobby.
Well, they're not making a lot of sense health of the hobby anyhow.
Well, it's kind of like boxing, who went kind of to the pay-per-view model. It used to be when I was growing up, you'd see championship fights on ABC or NBC.
Mm-hmm.
And they were events, and like, how big was boxing in the 70s and 80s?
It's humongous. People knew the champions not just from heavyweight, but you knew boxers from all different weight classes.
And they figured out, like, well, now these super fights, we can make them pay-per-view only. And I bet you they said, well, holy shit, we are making money hand over fist now. And they did for a while, and they may still be, but kind of like the footprint of boxing is just kind of grunk year after year after year after year.
Without looking it up, chat. Well, I don't know if this is the people, but like, who's the heavyweight champion of the world? Yeah. No one knows. I don't know.
Well, in regards to that, though, I mean, we have had, that MMA stuff grew. I mean, exploded.
Yeah. I don't want to soft sell that. Right, so they kind of filled a void. You know what I mean? I don't know. The reason I think people, took to it so well is, they kind of have more of a blended model.
Tyson Fury.
Yeah. Wilder, and I did see some of those. It's a shame too, because I bet you there's great fights out there. It's like, guess what, gang? I'm not paying $100. The last time I paid $100 was for Pacquiao and Mayweather.
We watched that.
It's just a terrible fight. I'm like, never again. It's just a dull, fight. I mean, I think Pacquiao's hand was broken or something, but it's like, sorry. So yeah, so it's like, you get burned once, and then you're like, you know what? I can look for other means, or I just won't do it. Do you want to stick around for one last thing here, Greg? We can.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so here we go. Gygax diaries. Diaries. All right. So we did this last time. When I kind of had a purpose last time a little bit. I kind of wanted to show how Gary was not beholden to his own rules. He in the first 10 pages of a thread would tell you you don't have to play these rules as written, folks. And there was some other interesting stuff here. So I'm kind of going through the if people like it, I may just make this a regular feature, but I just found there's no real theme this time, other than these are Gary Gygax's thoughts as of 2002. Somebody was asking about Brian Bloom, who was, I think they were the Bloom brothers, right, Greg?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, his partners who kind of sold him out, I think, for maybe Lorraine Williams. So it's just whoever was asking the question asked about Brian Bloom. He said, as for Brian Bloom, it'll probably not come as a surprise to learn that I don't have any truck with that individual. He sees me, he heads the opposite direction with some alacrity. So I'm just, because I guess they both still lived in Lake Geneva even after. And I'm just picturing Brian Bloom seeing Gary, walking down the street and just immediately crossing to the other side.
Hold on a second, Double D. Hey, chat. We're getting some people saying that Double D's going out. Is that fixed or not fixed?
It seemed like it was cutting it out there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like I said, if you're hearing me now, that's fine. It happens because I know it happened to Crazymouse earlier. But yeah, the first one was on Brian Bloom, and so is the second. I hope I'm good now.
Okay, they're saying it seems better now.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there's these like little aerodynes or something that happen when we're talking at the same time. Do you know that was responsible for the worst plane crash in history?
Mm-mm.
All right, so, God, I think it was on like some Caribbean island. The plane was trying to see if they could take off on the runway, and the tower was trying to tell them something. And they both talked at the same time, which meant they like canceled each other out. It's called something like an aerodyne or something like that. So the plane missed a key piece of information saying that, no, you can't go on this runway. So they took off, and this was the one where they hit. It was a 747, and they hit another 747.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Two full 747s, and it could have been avoided if they had not talked at the same time. I think there's now procedures, or maybe the technology's better, but yeah, just awful. Yeah.
And what year was that?
I want to say that was. It seems like maybe 77 or something around there. It was kind of like in the mid to late 70s, from what I recall. Yeah, just Google like the worst air. It's like two 747s hitting each other. Of course, nobody survived. It was just brutal.
Ouch.
But yeah. So the first one, Gary was saying how Brian Bloom avoids him, but then this other guy was asking about the hand and eye of Vecna. Smallest details indeed perforce. Brian Bloom was the creator of the eye and hand of Vecna, and nary a detail of those items did he ever reveal to me beyond what appeared in print, I hasten to add. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Gary did not create, that very famous, hand and eye of Vecna. That was Brian Bloom of all people. He doesn't get a lot of, as a creator, he's not very well known. But I guess he did something that has some legs. See another one here. Okay, now you may have a comment on this, Greg. And this is, all right, so they really shoot themselves in the feet. This is the person asking the question, in Italy at least, because they destroyed an excellent recruiting game. Oh, well. So I think he's talking about an earlier edition of D&D. And Gary says that is so. And TSR did that again when second edition was published. For some 50% of their audience did not accept the new edition. There is an analogy to the new Coke release here. Only TSR didn't rectify their marketing error on both original first edition of D&D and the 2e version of D&D. To the financial difficulties experienced in the years thereafter. I thought that was kind of fascinating. He's saying that because they went ahead with second edition and did not support first edition, that led to the probably to the collapse of TSR. So
He's not frozen.
I couldn't hear you there at the tail end when you finished reading it. Sorry.
I'm getting some audio issues here.
Yeah, Eric C says Double D has some issues right now. Greg, he was just asking about how you felt about the 1E and the 2E versions that weren't well received by the hardcore fans, and they likened it to New Coke, how people didn't accept New Coke. And he just wanted to know how you felt about led to the financial difficulties experienced in the years after that.
I just think it's reflective of how TSR and then later Wizards of the Coast just continuously shot themselves in the foot. And the precedent was set really with, leaving basic to emphasize AD&D. And that happened again with second edition, and then happened again with third edition, and then happened again with fourth edition. If you've got people playing these games, you need to respect the fact that some people really like those editions and aren't really that interested in moving forward. And then with edition fatigue and knowing that you're buying books that will be replaced within a 4 or 5 year period, really kind of deflates the hobby. And I think, and every time you do that, you section off the hobby, and it's not good, long term. And then you add in politics and you add in all these other things, and the hobby fragments even further. If I was running the show, I would have a one big umbrella, and I would have my people designing for early editions. I'd have my people designing for 3. I would have my people designing for 5 or whatever it is, and then see where the sales go. That's what I do.
I mean, they used to have Dungeon Magazine, which they could, and occasionally they would print stuff from earlier editions.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's obviously they're going to go where the money is. I think I figured out, like, this is like a slideshow, and even though it doesn't have sound, like there was sound on, so I don't know, maybe that was causing some issues. Let me know, chat, if I'm still.
Greg and Don are on the same wavelength. Don says Greg is spot on. He's reading my mind. Yeah. Travis, the same thing. Greg is on point.
Well, I think a lot of these things are honestly just self-evident to anybody who's enjoyed the hobby for a long period of time. And when I wasn't kidding when I said, we are the collective memory, the people that have been around, that have tried the various editions as they've come out, and then said, well, this is my preferred one, or somewhere between these 2 editions or whatever. And then you call BS on everything else.
Yeah, Kaz says mutual compatibility makes it a unifying force. Correct.
That's right. 100%.
For sure.
It reminds me a little bit of Games Workshop back in the day when I played Warhammer. I remember distinctly getting involved in it. It was first or second edition, right after Rogue Trader. Played that for quite a while, and Games Workshop would let little things out. The codex for this would come out, 8 months after the miniatures would come out, and there'd be little snippets in something saying, well, here we have some, a little bit of rules here. We'd wait. Like I recall vividly, like the assassins when the codex finally came out for those characters. The miniatures had already been out, and it was seriously like 2 months after they came out, they switched to another edition. The following edition was so uncompatible to the previous condition or Rogue Trader it was forcing everyone to buy books all over again. The Games Workshop was pretty notorious for that.
All right, hold on 1 second here. Go ahead, Crazymouse. Okay. Jeff Hatch, how was it? Oh, you want to come in here, Jeff?
No way. Did you read the comment?
Yeah, Greg says no. Jeff, yeah, you can come in. I guess I could just throw the link in the chat. So for now, I'll just keep it to Jeff if he wants to come in. Any of you other bad boys? I don't know. Yeah, if you have something to add, yeah, why not? In the meantime, I'll go on with Gary's background. If anybody who doesn't know, I think I even knew this. He was in the insurance field for about 13 years.
Wait, Gary Gygax was?
Yeah.
Really?
He was a supervising underwriter for various forms of health, special risk, and life insurance until 1970. Then he decided to roll the dice to support the family while earning very little in gaming. I learned to be a cobbler and did that for 4 years until becoming full-time at TSR, when he could probably earn enough to make it, worthwhile just doing that.
Got a mouse dropping.
DM James, how you doing, my friend? I would require all employees and subcontractors to sign a contract preventing them from sharing political opinions on social media. Nowadays, yeah, or at the very least, don't do it under your, if you want to do it under an alt account or something.
Go Kevin Durant. That reference might be lost on the chat. Go to Kevin Durant up on it.
Yeah.
Jeff wants to know how he joins. I think you just click that link.
Yeah, you're going to need a microphone at least, Jeff.
Yeah, it says he doesn't have a good camera, but you just need a mic.
You don't need a camera. Yeah, you just click on that link. It'll test your camera and microphone. And if not, don't worry about it, Jeff. That's fine. We can get you in some other time when you get it worked out. Or you can give it a shot here. We'll see. Your audio can't probably be as bad as I guess mine's. I think I know what happened.
No one's commented since Double D.
I think what happened is this is like an MP4 file I made, so I'm just kind of pausing it. But it has sound to it. It's just the sound is like silent, so I think that was interfering. So I just muted this. So
which link? I'm sorry, I'm new. Can you put that right back up there for Jeff? Sounds like he wants to join us. Tell a story.
Better not be body, Jeff. Or maybe it should be. I don't know. So this is Gary talking about 3rd edition. The stricture notes above are, in my opinion, valiant attempts to prevent blatant power gaming. However, the actual game assumes something quite different, and that means, and this is the part I highlighted, there exists in the system mechanics that mitigate against long-term campaign play. He's talking about 3rd edition here back in 2002. He's already kind of sensing that the mechanics of the game are not suited to long-term campaign play. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I think that's reflective of every version of D&D. That's why I think when we were talking earlier, you got that sweet spot maybe between like 3rd level and 6th level, 7th level, where things function as they should. And I think it takes DMing high level play is its own skill set, and so there's that part of it. And then I think play does kind of fall apart as you get past that point.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see if there's any more here, and then we'll bring Jeff Hatch on. I don't know if that's the last one or not. Yeah, that might be. I think that is the last one. Yeah, I wanted to just keep it brief.
But that's like, speaking of, I think it was Crazymouse said that. Pardon me if I'm wrong. That he didn't know that Gygax sold insurance.
I did not.
Well, that's where all the actuarial science of Dungeons and Dragons comes from. It's contemplating those life insurance charts and probabilities, and then Gygax used those to create, what would a medieval village look like, and
that's really interesting. That's really cool.
Using percentage numbers to randomly determine village contents or city contents, things like that, comes from the actuarial science.
Cool.
That is cool.
I work at an insurance company, so those underwriters are they're pretty smart guys. I'm in the financial field with it. Jeff Hatch, Planet Pulp. What is Planet Pulp? Can you hear us, Jeff? Jeff?
We're going live.
You're live. We can't hear you, buddy. You do need a microphone of some kind. So I don't know if your computer has one. Tell you what, if you go to the settings and then audio, you can test your audio a little bit there. We'll see if we can't get that rectified. If not, we can just have you on back next week. No big deal. No big deal. Well, I think that was the last thing I wanted you to comment on. Now, Greg, you're more than welcome to hang out here, but if you were looking for a place to jump out, it's an hour and a half.
Very
you
good.
can certainly do that. Why don't we let Greg go? And as I think we have been putting in the crawl below, you can get all of Jeff's or Greg's stuff on Drive Through RPG.
Yeah, I just put it up again for you.
Well, thanks. Well, I appreciate that. When I come back, we'll do an art preview for the rule book. How's that?
Oh, that
awesome.
sounds like a good idea.
I know. People in your group will appreciate the art for sure.
Oh yeah.
How many X's are going to be in this one, buddy?
Say, well, that remains to be seen.
This girl ate my crayons in 3rd grade. She can go burn in hell. She's an innkeeper. She's a town hoe.
That's what I would do. Yeah. God, yeah. I gotta. I promise I'll use the better thumbnail of you too, Greg. I will swap out with the much cooler one.
Yeah, because that was worth fighting over, by the way. We're gonna do opposing grapples for that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Grappling rules. How are you handling grappling in your rules, or do you not address it?
No, I keep it super simple, just opposing strength checks, and it doesn't need to be more complex than that.
Yeah. It seems it's always it's always a source of headache and always a source of
you know go check that rule. We'll carry on. We'll come back to your fight in a little bit.
Or what happens is just forget it. I'll just hit him with my sword.
Yeah.
If it's going to be that much trouble, I'll just. It should never be that.
We've all been in that place.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, we have.
All right, Greg. Thank you so much for giving us an update, coming by, hanging out.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it, and it's nice to see
Have a
everybody.
great one, Greg.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers,
Greg.
and thank you.
Great talking with you.
Yep, we'll have you back soon. And get Greg's stuff. Link in the description of the live stream. Thank you, Greg. Take care.
Cheers.
Peace. All right.
And it looks like Planet Pulp is trying by phone now. So he might be joining us, might not be.
Right. That's okay. Yeah, like I said, don't stress over it, Jeff. If not, you can get it worked out in the interim. In the interim. So just us knuckleheads here.
Well, we got Eric C dropping in pretty soon. Yes. For
Eric, Eric, you can come in anytime you want.
Eric,
show us your base.
We've been hearing about this thing. Let's get this going.
Want to see it?
Yep. So, Eric, when you're all set, let us know.
I'm going to show you guys the traveler characters that we made. Well, a couple of them. I got mine, Rogan's, and Pew Pew's.
Pew Pew.
Pew Pew Pew.
Pew Pew. Pew 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 Pew.
That's my guy.
Oh, okay. He looks like little Sean Connery, if you ask me.
That is exactly who he's supposed to look like. I used Sean Connery in Outland as the movie Outland, which I love. As the basis, it kind of fits his. I've given him his name, Colt McGregor.
Okay,
Colt McGregor. Had to give him some kind of a Scottish name, so Colt McGregor.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate. Yeah. So am I going to do the Sean Connery accent the whole time?
You should.
That's a commitment. Next.
Boom.
And whose character is that?
It's Rogan's.
Mine.
Wow.
What's his name?
He's based off of Scott Eastwood.
Oh, Clint Eastwood's kid.
Okay.
We're using AI to generate these, by the way, guys, like Open AI or that sort of thing. What's his name again?
Dante Thorne.
Dante Thorne. Okay.
Yeah.
I was not here on Friday, so I make my guy this Friday, it looks like.
Your characters here are like kind of they were kind of connected to two other folks.
Okay.
Two others. And so Mrs. D's character is tied to Gavin Morgan and Crazymouse.
Oh, okay.
And she has a romantic involvement or interest with one of them. So she's like, I think it'll be with Crazymouse.
Okay, all right.
Well, not Crazymouse himself, his character.
Yeah, and we all understood that. And it looks like Planet Pulp is back in the house.
All right, we'll get to Jeff after the last one. This is Pew Pews.
Pew Pew.
Based on Franco Nero. In fact, I think his first name is Nero. It's Nero something or other. I thought that was a pretty cool one too. Yeah, good old Franco Nero. His character was probably the funnest. Like his is like wild. He's like a scientist that's like working on like trying to splice the DNA of like aliens and humans, and then he got run out of his profession. He's got 3 guys after him.
Oh wow.
But then he like got a job, this cushy job as like an administrator on this planet, so he could kind of like hide his crimes. It's pretty good. All right, last chance, Jeff. Are you there?
Okay, am I in?
We got you. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
All right, tell us what you had a little story. Go ahead.
I texted it in. I put it in the chat, but basically, we were at Polycon a couple weeks ago, and they did a lot of prize support, which was given away for a song. But they had a lot of old school stuff, first edition stuff like that, complete with a big fat warning that said this is racist and sexist and it's not meet up to today's standards and such. I was mortified.
Are you kidding me?
But I took the stuff anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah, they do that digitally too. I'm pretty sure if you buy any of the old like PDF downloads of like the old first edition modules and that, they'll be happy to sell it to you. The hypocrites will take the money for that. But yeah, they'll put this warning on there as a virtue signal to everybody else.
Where's Polycon at?
It's in San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
We do about 200 to 300 people, and it's pretty good. But it definitely the left wing took over this year.
Yeah, they're winning, unfortunately.
Fight ain't over.
That's for the fight ain't over, but yeah, the conventions they draw strength from each other. So yeah, if you're conservative at these conventions, some of them. I mean, there's some that are just kind of like the North Texas one, even maybe like Gary Con, where it's they probably don't care. But yeah, anywhere else, if it's like your city's convention, if it's a mid-size or bigger one.
Speaking of Gary Con, D, that is the place to be in March this year or next year. 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons at Luke Gygax's con. I think that's going to be the place to be.
Yep.
50 years. Wow.
50 years to the date.
Oh, it's in March.
It's in March. So yeah, we'll say maybe 2 months late, but I think everyone's going to be celebrating that year, but that's going to be the place to be.
Party up in Lake Geneva, right?
Yeah.
I already got my reservations.
Oh, do you?
Yep.
Cool.
Hey, you asked about Planet Pulp Mouse.
Yeah.
So that's my company.
What do you do?
I publish a role-playing game called Pulp Adventure, but I'm not going to plug and go crazy right now, but I've got about 8 books out for it.
And it's called what? Pulp Adventure?
Pulp Adventure.
Cal, can you throw the link for that in the chat if you're still here? Yeah, you can. Of course, you can plug it.
Yeah, plug it.
You're almost a member of the inner circle.
Yeah, I'm pretty small potatoes. I don't have anything really good to plug right now. But I do it at California cons, and it's real popular when I do there. If anybody remembers the old issue 47 of the Dragon Crime Fighters, the little mini game, that's what inspired me.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay. Well, yeah.
So
it may hit somebody in the right spot. So yeah, we'll see if we can't throw it in there. People at least can take a look at it.
Yeah, I'll send you something maybe next week before we chat. But thanks for having me on. It's nice to be able to get my words in.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you for coming in. Yeah. Appreciate it. Take care, Jeff. We'll see you in the chat.
Check out Planet Pulp.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Check out Planet Pulp. Okay. And we lose one.
And we gain one.
Right. Eric C.
Hi, Eric.
How's it going,
How
Eric?
you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. So you want to take a quick look around here? Probably.
Absolutely.
All right. Let me see how I can switch this cam. Oh,
there you go.
I wanted to switch it to the other cam. Maybe I can't. I'll just have to do it this way.
All right.
That's fine.
Well,
it'll work. It'll work.
This just got made for me. It's an 8-foot-long crafting desk.
Nice. I know Rogan and I probably can appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On that shelf are those paints for miniatures? What's on that shelf?
Well, let me get over here. These are airbrush paints.
Mm-hmm.
These are mostly crafting paints.
Are those acrylic?
No, this is just cheap dollar Craftsmart paint.
Yeah, those are
acrylic paints. Okay.
Yeah, those are acrylics. Yeah.
It's used on the terrain pieces. I do have a few washes and stuff up front here.
Right.
Over here next to it, I do have my mini paints.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
nice.
More crafting stuff down here. A buddy of mine made this for me, and part of his payment is he wants to be ran through the old Dragonlance modules, DL1 through DL15.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, that first one is so iconic. You know, the sunken city.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun. And then the area where we play is over here.
So how many people are in your game?
All right, all that terrain. That's awesome.
5 players in our group.
And it looks like if you're not in the action, you have to go do a load of laundry. Is that how that works out?
Down there. But one of the other genres we like is cyberpunk, and I hope the camera will pick it up with the lights off.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Pull it back a little. Pull it back a little. It's a little.
I'm going to shut off the other light down here.
Yeah.
Now, let's see if it'll show up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sweet.
That is nice. That is awesome.
Damn.
Now, I'll turn the lights on just to show you, because I finished one of the pieces literally just Monday to this. Turn the lights on before I kill myself tripping over stuff. This thing here is modular. So you can see on that side over here, it's obviously still empty. But these particular, let me try to turn it, they come out, and I'm going to make, the reason I made just like a little city park and a parking lot, if I can tilt it at this weird angle, because those are simple and easy to make. And then I'm going to eventually do some more modules that have buildings and things like that on them.
Hey, Eric, I know that you're holding the phone so you can't see. The chat is absolutely blowing up with how nice that is.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks, guys.
Without exaggerating, you probably have 15 messages talking about how awesome that is.
Yeah,
it is sweet.
I'm on my phone. The other stuff I have, and some of the pieces I have are old cardstock PDF pieces that I made. Back before I bought my current house and I didn't have room to actually craft. But then I did start to graduate. For anyone who watches Tabletop Witchcraft, I copied the forge that he did. Right there. Great.
And those are all cardstock?
Well, these are cardstock.
Uh-huh.
These are they were PDF. These were from Dave Graffam Games, I think. You just print them up on your laser printer because if you do an inkjet, you're going to spend a fortune on ink. And then you pour them, fold them, and glue them. Yeah. But these here they're XPS foam.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're XPS foam.
So do you do foam boards? Do you do like just scratch foam board buildings?
I have a couple that have some foam board in them, but not really. A lot of them are going to be various pieces of XPS foam. These are earlier ones. Are just ruined walls that I made, things like that. So yeah, there's lots of stuff we can do here, and it's all like right circling the game table, which makes it really easy to access.
How many people are in your game, Eric?
We have 5 people in the game group.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they are
spoiled.
Yeah.
Spoiled.
That's a very sweet setup there.
I have one more trick up my sleeve. I'm going to have to turn the lights off again for this trick. All right. And again, this is cyberpunk because all of us are like hugely into this genre. I have a black light, so the whole table glows. You get them in view. I have dice that have black light pips on them.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
Yeah. Because we use it for Savage Worlds and stuff like that. I have bennies that glow under the black light, so we don't have any messes. I have glasses that glow under the black light for holding some drinks. And I'm going to set my phone down now. And book, we did a custom Savage Worlds version of Cyberpunk because we like the rules so much. And a buddy of mine is a graphic designer, so he laid it out all professionally, and we put it in a binder. And we used 100 brightness paper, so that thing is perfectly readable under the black light as well.
Wow. That's a nice setup.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, well, I'm
42 years, so it adds up.
Yeah, I love making some terrain now and again. I'm kind of running out of room. I did a lot of store-bought, but I kind of was making stuff. It was more for like the bolt action.
Okay.
War game or tabletop game miniatures. And I want to kind of make these Italian, kind of like Italian peninsula game buildings. And I just started to go to town with like just foam board, like literally dollar store foam board, just trays cut out, hot glue together, paint. You kind of stucco it a little bit with like spackle. Loved doing it.
I use spackle big time. I use that for mortar between bricks a lot of times.
Yeah.
When I store bought too, these bookshelves right here, it's mirrored. This bottom area right down here is all Dwarven Forge.
We use some Dwarven Forge, yes.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, one of these days I'll.
We painted that stuff. We had a painting party for some of your Dwarven Forge.
You bought the unpainted.
Yeah, I bought the unpainted to save a little, but I just figured we'd have a painting party. It actually was kind of fun.
It was fun. I liked it.
That was a lot of fun.
There's some graffiti on one of them, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't Kez tag one of them?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I could never get my players to do that. Of course, some of them
do your laundry. You might as well tell them to grab a paintbrush.
I don't know if we got like a pizza or something that night or something. I don't know. We just kind of said, "Look, guys, instead of playing, do this." I just gave him the step-by-step, that Stefan's like he just kind of 4-step process. Very easy, even
if somebody doesn't know what they're doing, you have them do the priming and the base coat, and then you can do the dry brush.
Exactly. Yeah. It all turned out fine. It all turned out just fine. It was more about the process than there's only at the end of the day, it's going to look okay, no matter what you do. So,
and that's the thing. I'm on a couple crafting groups on Facebook. That's about all I use Facebook for. And there are people on there that are brand new saying, "Oh, I think this is really bad, but I'm going to post it up here. It's my first thing." And all of us are supportive. And we're like, dude, you have 3-dimensional terrain at your table. Doesn't matter if it's super high quality or not. It's way better than having a little square drawn on a battle mat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of I don't mind having the 3D buildings. A lot of people are like, come on, theater of the mind, or you're not playing right. It's like, nah, that's for you. I like having stuff there, even if it's sometimes just a basic shape.
You've had some epic things that you've built
And
over the
we
years.
vary back and forth.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use theater of the mind if it's like, oh, there's one ogre, and everyone's just going to surround it and beat it down. I'm not going to set up a battle mat for that.
Yeah.
So it just all depends on what you're doing. You just want to keep the game flowing. And another trick I'll use is if the party's like in a dungeon and I kind of know where they're going to be going. The table it's 5 foot by 6 foot, and it's got a 1-inch grid underneath some plexiglass. So I'll draw a map on there, and then I can pull out a battle map, put it on top of that, and draw out a room. And then I can put my terrain on top of that. So if I kind of know where they're going, I can have multiple layers ready to go.
We got Double D's. You guys are on like the same page. Double D will do that. He'll tell us to go upstairs for 5 minutes as he unveils some concoction that he kind of knew where we were heading that night.
Yeah, if they left off like, okay, hey, we are definitely going to be having this, I'll be like, okay, well, at least this way I can kind of plan something, ahead, because they are going to definitively go there. I'm not pushing them. They want to go there. So, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one of the parts about a dungeon. If there's a hallway, there's only so many places they're going to be going.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unless you're in the barrow maze, then there's like 100 different places you can go.
Yeah, they're all deadly.
I have to check that out because everybody's talking about that thing.
The barrow maze?
It's worth it.
Tell your players to not fall in love with their characters because it's brutal.
So even if it's just a one shot, just have them. Yep, it's something else.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, or sorry, Eric, thank you very much. That is something.
That is you know what? It shows. Thanks for sharing that with us because it shows how passionate you are about that stuff, especially with some of that attention to detail with that lighting. And also you're I don't know if you did it for the cameras, but man, you're super neat on those shelves. Everything looks like it's in a specific spot.
I am very OCD.
Yeah.
I have 2 bookshelves of miniatures plus another bookshelf of minis that are specifically for board games, which are over on this side. I didn't show those off. And they're all organized.
Yeah.
It has to be that way. It drives me nuts otherwise.
I wish I had a little bit of that in me. I'm a little messy at times. I'll clean myself up after a while, but sometimes I've got piles of stuff in the back. So, all right. Well, listen, Eric, thank you very much. It was well worth.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. And now we know what you were talking about all the time when you'd have us on in the background when you're working. Now we know what happened. Now we know what you're doing.
This is where I'm working when you're when I'm watching you guys a lot of times.
What time zone are you in? Are you in America?
Yeah, same as you. I'm in Metro Detroit.
Okay,
cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing I want to say is curse a yig. Now you know I'm not Venger Satanis. Little joke that we had going.
Avengers long lost brother or something, right?
He's only 7 hours away by car. He could have driven over here and got.
There you go. Yeah. All right, Eric. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
See you in the chat, buddy. Yep.
That was sweet.
That was really nice. Oh, look at that. Crazymouse. Oh, Crazymouse was front and center. Wah, wah, wah.
I'm the boss, applesauce. Well, you know what? Well, heck, why not?
No, you can switch it back.
No, hey.
Cursive Vig says, "LOL, funny man."
Cursive Vig,
that little zinger.
Hey, can we go back in time a little bit? Who was talking some smack about you and Mouse?
Someone said to get rid of me and Rogan.
Was that Cal?
I don't know who that was. I'd have to really scour that chat.
That hurt.
Someone
hurt
was
a
like,
lot.
get rid of Mouse and Rogan.
Guys, I wouldn't be doing this without them. So even if for some reason you don't like them, you better put up with them.
I don't know if it was maybe because there was too many people on the mic and Jeff couldn't join in. I'm not sure. Jeff, if you're still listening, someone said they were having a trouble finding your page. So if you can just throw that.
I think that was Cal. Okay,
throw that.
If not, we can rectify that later or next time. That's fine. Cal, don't knock yourself out. And thank you again, of course, as always, Cal.
Jeff loves all the hype you were giving him by calling Eric Jeff twice. So,
Jeff.
But Eric, you know what was nice was all those times. Just think about this: if you go back and think about our live streams, Eric would be like, "Oh, I'm working in the back. You guys, like, I'm working and I just have you guys off in the background, blah, 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 blah." And now that we actually see his finished product, that was really cool. You know?
I envy it tremendously.
Yeah. And if he could have angled that camera, we could have gotten a Gain and a Clorox sponsorship, because that's was probably
Calgon.
Yeah, Calgon, ancient Chinese secret. That was really cool. I really like that he let us into his basement.
Oh, yeah.
World. That was really
That
cool.
stuff, Mouse just loves that stuff. Yeah, he'll
I like,
you're his hero.
I like putting the like that we're real people, you know, like, and we're talking to people.
Right.
I love that type of stuff.
Having these guys here and like bringing on folks like Eric and Jeff. I think that kind of inoculates me to some of the online retardation from seeping into the show too much. Because I mean, there's just it's let me tell you, I watched Comicsgate over the years, and it's bound to happen. And I understand that, you know, it did, you know, a little bit. And, you know, I'm not saying it's this person's fault, that's person's fault. It's just, at the end of the day, it's like, can't we all just kind of get along, you know? But when I'm sitting here looking at my friends across literally our game table, you know, if you've seen our live plays, you know, we're using the same table, you know, I can just be like, all right. So some of these guys, you know, like Rogan and especially Crazymouse just aren't, you know, like they're talking about like, what are you talking about? Bro SR, you know? All right. Oh yeah. Well, I think maybe I know. So it kind of inoculates me from a lot of this silly stuff.
Pull you back in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the show is greater for it.
And today's show was sponsored by Tide Pods.
I was driving around the other day. It might have been the day I talked to Shark. I was just kind of driving around, and I think I heard. I know we do this every so often where we nominate the worst song of all time, and I'm not saying this is the worst song.
We discuss stuff like that, absolutely.
We do. But this is this song has one of the cheesiest, dumbest lines I've heard in the song, and it always just didn't sit well with me. But I guess it took this latest playing of it to kind of like be like, you know what, this is actually worth talking about. So check, you know, you can load up your least favorite songs, cheesiest songs, worst lines in a song. But I was thinking about this. It's St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh God.
John Parr.
Yeah. Movie that was you know, it had like the Brat Pack in it, mid 80s. The song I think ended up being even more popular
than the movie, not the Four Non-Blondes.
Yeah, not the Four Non-Blondes. Yeah, we have said that before. Like that's got to be. That was Gavin Morgan. He's like, oh yeah, it's got to be that.
That's on Rogan's. That's Rogan's.
Rogan's too. Yeah.
I hate that song.
We're both you to have those two agree on something.
Oh boy, stop the presses.
All right, so it's not the whole song. You know, it's just kind of mid 80s. You know, that kind of that era. You understand it, but
and then it also that song St. Elmo's Fire. I think that it might actually be Man in Motion is the name of the song, but it's from St. Elmo's Fire, and that's what everyone thinks.
Well, you just hit on it, Mouse.
Yeah,
because that's the part when he says, "Gonna be a man in motion. All I need is a pair of wheels."
Yeah,
it just sounds so cheesy, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, what the hell? What?
Sweet 80s.
Use your legs, you fruit.
Sweet 80s cheese right there. Absolutely.
Yes.
You know,
gonna be a man in motion. All I need is a pair of wheels.
All I can picture in my mind is Don Johnson. Don Johnson.
That Man in Motion, was that the theme song for that guy that was using his wheelchair to go around the country?
Ooh,
I don't know. Maybe.
I think that Man in Motion. I know that St. Elmo's Fire grabbed that song, but I think it's referencing a handicapped guy doing a fundraiser.
In the song?
Yeah, I think that's where they got it from. No, I think it is. I think I don't know, but Eric C just threw you
$1
million. Well, maybe $5.
$5.
Thank you so much.
Eric C, who we just had on. Thanks to everyone who said kind things about his crafts. They said kind things because it was very deserving. Eric. Eric C, thank you.
You're an extra couple steps closer to the inner circle.
You know who I did not see today was Panther. Rogan, Don Johnson on rollerblades. Is that what you're thinking of?
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
Don just agreed with you. I put it right up there for you.
That's all I could think about. Is that, one of those neon pink T-shirts and a white blazer we wore? Which on the record, I think I've only watched a half of a couple episodes when that show was on.
Hyper colors. You got to remember the hyper colors. The shirts that change.
And also that another brand that was super popular in that time was Body Glove. If anybody remembers that, it was like Body Glove. Yeah. It was like spandex.
Yes. Yeah. Oh boy, the days. Yeah. So that was, I was just riding around and I'm like, God, that's a dumb line. Gonna be a man in motion. All I need is a pair of wheels.
And I got to say, the movies, hey, I didn't care for the movie very much as well. I'm not going to damn it too much.
Didn't all those become like part of the Brat Pack except for one of the girls?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
One of the girls didn't.
Oh, I can't remember.
I don't want to say amount to anything. That's not what I'm saying. She was in a movie, but all those actresses went on to do something except for one girl who was actually pretty. Who's Rick Hansen? Is
that the guy? I hope.
Chad?
I'm gonna owe Crazymouse a very public apology. Is Rick Hansen the wheelchair guy?
Chat. Get on the Googles. Who's Rick Hansen?
It's your chance.
I know Chris Hansen from the
we know
movie.
Yeah, he's Rick Hansen.
Mayor Winningham.
Is he one of the Hansen brothers in Slapshot? The three brothers, with the glasses. Yeah,
Hansen brothers. Hansen circle the double
globe and a wheel. Oh my lord! This is a lesson. Don't ever doubt Crazymouse because he's always right.
I'm not always right. Do not say that.
He is. Thank you, thank you, pundit.
That stuck in there. I was in that memory vault.
I do remember stuff. Not that Hansen, Cyrus, not Mbop. So the other day we were doing something and I gave some hungry people some food and my mom was like, that was so nice of you. And I'm like, I don't like it when people say that. People should just do nice things all the time. So I don't like it when people are like, oh, that was so nice of you. Ugh. Shove it. People should be nice all the time.
Well, we're at the 2-hour mark, and I got to ask Rogan. I'll ask the chat. And first I'll ask Rogan. Rogan, would you be prepared to tell the story?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Chat, it's story time.
Chat, would you be interested in hearing about the high crimes and misdemeanors of Rogan Gosh when he was a young man? It's a pretty good story. But Rogan, I got to impress on you. You got to speak loudly and firmly into that microphone.
I will.
Okay.
Travis says, story time? Hell yeah.
First of all, I want to say this. I remember we were talking a long time ago. I was with the group, a year and a half, 2 years, a long time ago. And we were, just discussing things and being, about our backgrounds and stuff like that. And I remember saying something and the question was asked, well, tell us more about it. And I remember saying, listen, I don't want you guys to think any different of me. I was really concerned about it. And then I told the story. Yeah.
All right, I'll set the table, and then Rogan, you can run with it, and I'll only interrupt if I have to either bring you back around or keep you going. But
absolutely,
Rogan is a gentle soul. You can sometimes see him in the live play. He's just
can see it in his voice. Can hear it in his voice.
Yeah, you can hear his voice. He has a very soft voice. He's a big guy, welder. Physical guy. When he was younger. He was a bit of an animal. In fact, that was your nickname, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And on a side note, I knew a girl that ran with Rogan when I worked at a grocery store.
Yes.
So I knew about this wild side before he would really share it because she said, "Oh, you know Animal." I said, "That guy over there?" "Yeah, I do." "How?" Oh, that's animal.
Oh,
That's animal.
All right. So you don't have to take too many detours, but you also don't, you don't need to like get right to the point in like 2 minutes. So give us a nice, maybe like a 10-minute version, 15-minute version. Yeah, but we'll see if we can stretch it out here. So you are how old?
Oh, just shortly after my 21st birthday.
21 years old.
Yes, had no money in my pocket, but the world in my hands. I was
all right. So the quiet man of the threesome is has the floor. Get right up on that microphone, speak loudly, clearly, and tell us this story.
So yeah, I certainly had issues when I was a young man. Obviously, far different now. But yeah, it was shortly after my 21st birthday. A good buddy of mine, he left for the service in the Air Force. He shows up at my apartment. Boom, I'm back for a couple months. Then I'm off. Like, holy cow, we got to have a party. So me and him split. We'll go to the local super duper. They have a state store nearby. Just a whole lot of alcohol. Just an enormous amount of alcohol. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to drink some of that. I'm going to drink some of that. I'm going to drink some of that. So, and several $100s later, we get back to my apartment. My apartment door is wide open.
Several or seven?
Several.
Wow, I thought he said $700 later.
Yeah, so you get
back in the 80s too, right?
Yeah. Back in 87. Yeah. Get to my apartment. My door's wide open. I'm like, holy shit. And carefully step in there, and a buddy of mine is a punk rock guy. He's been in a bunch of punk rock bands. He's passed out on my couch. Wake him up. The dude's name is Larry. I'm like, Larry, what the fuck's going on? It's like, oh man, I hope you don't mind, but I crawled through your window and opened up your door. I'm like, oh, cool, dude. Why? It's like, oh, there's some beer over there. We're gonna have a party tonight. I'm like, there's 3 half kegs over in my dining room area ish that he brought in. He worked at a bar that was closed down for renovation. So
you have hard liquor now, and now you have some kegs.
We have kegs. They're like, that this wasn't planned, but it just, like the stars aligned. So, all right, this is cool. People showed up. It really enjoyed it, and had a fantastic night. Imbibed. I remember vividly opening every bottle I touched and imbibing in as much of each one as I could. And that's where the memory gets really soft. But my apartment was a rear apartment. This big house that was split up into apartments. And my buddy who came back from the service, he had some mental issues. He was struggling with some things, and every now and then it would pop up. So he pulled one of these. Listen, I got to split for a little bit. This is 3:00 in the morning at this point, and we've been there for each other. So back before he joined the service, we hold each other up a little bit. So he splits, and I'm worried about him. I walk out of my apartment. He already hopped in his car and he left. And I'm standing right out there. This is a busy intersection, not busy at 3:00 in the morning, but I'm just standing out there looking one way down the street. This car pulls up like right beside me, a different car. And in this apartment complex, there's the apartment that's in front of my apartment, and there's an older couple that lives in there. They're the parents of this girl I knew, and they were wonderful people, and I was good friends with this girl for a long time. We never dated or anything like that, but we were buds. She was like a good, my girlfriend, best friend for a while, because we just were. So
just to reset. Okay, you live in an apartment, and also living in the same apartment complex are the parents of this girl that you befriended.
Yes.
Not as a girlfriend, but just
a friend. Mm-hmm.
Her friend
in the front apartment.
Okay.
So in over the course of, I don't know, a handful of months, I'd run into her and talk to her. We hadn't talked to each other very much. We both got busy in our lives, but she would tell me about this guy she's dating that the dude started beating her up. It was always, always in my mind, that's just not cool. It's just not cool. So anyhow,
I'm in your craw.
So I'm standing out there. I'm like, it's really trash. This car pulls up, and she hops out of the passenger side. She went to go inside her parents' apartment to go grab something, and there's this dude driving the car that's beating her up. This guy's, I'm 21, man. This guy's, almost 30, beating up on this girl who's barely 20.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. So I stepped up with my bravado. out in the street over to the driver's side, and I called him out. I said, "Dude, I tell you what, why don't you step out and beat on me? We could do that."
All right, so hold on one second, because DM James, thank you so much, buddy. Channel member and all around good egg. Love his live streams as always. At Rogan, no judgment. I mean, $20 is $20. Okay, there you go. Thank you, James. All right, so you see the abusive boyfriend.
Yes,
as she's inside.
Yes.
You're confronting the abusive boyfriend.
Absolutely. And this guy, he jets out, like a wildcat, and we go to grab, and within seconds, again, another neighbor of mine who lives in the apartment above all of us is this guy named Jerry. And Jerry's this biker guy who's like, a foot shorter than I am, and I'm not too terribly tall. But the dude scared me. He's a good dude, but this dude loved me. And he's out the door in his boxers, and another neighbor's out, another guy, older guy who liked me. And these guys, there's a long story with those guys.
Separating you.
Yeah. Jerry picks me up and carries me back to the apartment. Her parents come out, are trying to break things up. This dude's screaming and hollering, threatening to kill me. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to chill in my apartment. They leave. And then all I had was dark thoughts, which is awful.
The dark thoughts of Rogan. Gosh.
That's what bravado just took over. Sense and sensibility was absolutely gone. So I grabbed.
Go ahead.
All right, I had the sawed-off shotgun, and there's a litany to this Mossberg that I acquired. It was a short thing that I helped craft for a buddy of mine, and we were talking about this a while back. Out of everything in the story, I'm fucking proud of that fucking shotgun.
We were going over this last week. He was telling us that last week, and I'm like, would you mind telling this on stream? It's because I love hearing the story, but he's like, the gleam in his eye when he was saying like, the way I sawed this thing off was just beautiful. He's like, there was no burrs.
It's like, like a little Indian boy fucking crafting on Taj Mahal, with bare hands. But and I grabbed this. I have a duffel bag and a knife that should be illegal. And it was not in my right.
It's like a Bowie
knife. Yeah, absolutely. And I made the walk down to this girl's apartment, passing 1,000. There's a bottle club that was ending the night. All these people coming out. Animal, how's it going? I'm out to kill somebody.
So you're drunk.
Oh,
I'm telling all these folks I'm on my way to go kill someone.
These memories at this point, I'm just like, I have bits and pieces in my brain, and I'm doing my best to put them together over the years. But I end up getting to the block where her apartment was at, and it's again another busy street, about a mile away. And I'm approaching. I know her apartment's right there. I'm gone. I'm just absolutely gone. And this dude jumps out of his car and confronts me, and I got that shotgun right out there, leveled it, as quick as I could get it, which is pretty freaking fast, and I'm looking at him, and I'm just not, dude, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to fucking, and I was going to do it.
The way you told it years ago, I don't know if you were just putting a flourish on it, but you said you told him, like, you best make peace with the Lord or something like that, because this is going to be your last night on earth.
I said something like absolutely like that. And I'm looking at him, but my problem was, and this is really an awful thing that, not where I was at. I wasn't sure which one to shoot. Honestly, I was so drunk. There's easily three of them. I couldn't see straight. I was barely standing, and I just screamed and hollered. And if I wasn't so drunk, I would have pulled the trigger. Honestly.
Well, how things would have been different. Hold on one second. Bill M, $5. Thank you so much, Bill. The best stories are from real life. Well, we're finding that out right now. Yeah. When I first heard this story from Rogan, I was floored. I'm like, Rogan? The most soft-spoken guy like I've ever met. Like the nice, give you the shirt off his back.
Thank you.
And more. And you're talking about jamming a sawed-off shotgun in somebody's grill and saying,
absolutely,
you best make peace because you're about to die.
I would have pulled the trigger. I would have done it. And I just I've said it 1,000 times. It's a cautionary tale that I've told my sons. Like, listen, one bad moment, a good person could have one bad moment, and it would change so many people's lives.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
From that point on, like that's where the cops show up. I mean, I'm standing there, I'm done yelling. My fire's out. This guy's looking at me. He's trying to plead with me. I kind of put
Was he begging you at any
I
point?
don't
Do you think he
recall
was
him
like begging?
I think he was just trying to calm me down. The best I can remember. But I remember at one point, everything turned into Christmas, and except for the snow. And I don't know if it was some sort of survival thing inside my skull, but I turned around and I had the shotgun in.
On mic.
I turned around and put that shotgun in this duffel I had. Turned around, I started walking. I realized it wasn't Christmas. It was like 5 or 6 police cars, and there wasn't carols there saying they had guns pointed at me, screaming at me. It was an awful situation. That cop grabbed me like lightning, took that duffel bag and grabbed my hands up behind my head, had held my hands in my hair and shoved me against the back of this car. He's screaming at me, spread them. And I comply, absolutely. And that dude kicked my legs out from underneath me. My face smacked the back of the back of the trunk and the bumper, then right on the cement ground. And he hauled me up from like my belt buckle and my hair and threw me up against that car again and screamed at me, spread them, and kicked my leg out again. And man, I hit that back of the car, then my face hit the bumper, broke my nose and split my lip. I hit the ground. I've been laying there and he's picking me up. I got blood all over blood pouring out of my nose, blood all over the back of this car. It was remarkable.
So you were on your way to the lockup, right?
Yes, on the way to lockup, and that was scary, uneventful at that point. I get into the police station, the jail. They take my shoelaces, my belt, they take my jacket, everything I have, and I'm sitting there. And I have no concept at this point of what time it is. I have no idea of time. I don't know if I was there for 1 hour or 20 hours. I am clueless.
Didn't you say the police paraded you around?
Well, this is after. So at some point they brought me out and I was in front of a judge. And I don't have a fucking clue what I said to the judge. I have no clue whatsoever. And I think they did the inky thing on my hands, took my picture. And, I got a phone call. I'm like, I don't know who to call. I can't remember my girlfriend's number, but I called my old man. I woke him up, I guess. And, I tried to talk to him a little bit. The cop talked to him, trying to explain everything going on. Cop gives me the phone, and I'm like, this is where I'm at, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, all right, well, okay, and hangs up. Just like, all right, hung up.
Like that.
You're on your own,
Yeah.
Shortly after that, they give me all my stuff: my shoelaces, my belt, I had this big jean jacket with all sorts of shit, my shotgun shells, stuff in my pockets and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh, you're gonna go over to the jail, the prison," and I get the big belt put on me and the handcuffs and stuff like that. And they pulled me out. And this is it just put me in the car, and that's the car. It's underground out there, a big garage or whatever it was. And so I'm in the back seat. They pull out. It's just boom, the sun's out, everything's out. And this part of town has this great big, not a roundabout. It's that 2-block area where it's a square, and the direction of the traffic goes a certain way. And I swear to God, they rode around that North Park Row like a dozen times, just parading me around. Get to the prison and hand me off. And I swear, every prison guard's 6'8", with a hell of a sense of humor. But this time, like, I'm coming down. I'm coming down pretty fast in regards to being drunk, and things are impacting me now. And all I could think about is these cops. Every time they take something out of my jacket, they're cracking jokes. I found this little broken pipe thing in my pocket, and belonged to a buddy of mine, and I had a roll of electrical tape in the other pocket. I just
we get right up on that mic because this is going great. Yeah.
And so they're pulling everything out and they're just cracking jokes. Hey man, these guys a drug dealer, whatever it is. Yeah, we got it all here on tape and blah blah blah. And and I'm just like feeling as little as possible. I'm becoming tinier and tinier. And I take all my shit. They walk me into this room where the general population of this particular area was. It's a massive pink room. Pink. There's a television on a stand, coming off the wall that's, encased in a grilled, cage. And there's these big round metal picnic tables, 3 of them that are bolted to the floor, and this guard escorts me with his hand on my shoulder over to this door, opens up the door, we step in the door, and that's when there's all these shelves and shelves of the prison clothing. And he's like, all right, take your clothes off. So I'm taking my clothes off, and I'm there in my socks, my undies. It's like, no, dude, you gotta drop those. And I look at him, and he's he's doing the whole
drop your undies.
So he did the search, which was sobering, eye-opening, and I'm not going to say life-changing, but
thank God.
It was awful, man. And
full search,
full cavity,
no holes barred,
and that that's awful. If you haven't been there, that is just absolutely awful. I got myself a uniform that fit properly. He has me a couple towels, washcloth, a couple rolls of toilet paper, this little booklet, and I think there was like a little thingy of soap. It tells me to go down to the cell, whatever. We step out of there. I walk down this way, and there's all these cells on one side and all these cells on the other. They're all open. And I go down to the cell block 5 or 6 or 7, whatever it was. And there's this, and there's only one bed in these cells. And there's this big dude in there. I step in and look at him. He just looks at me. He's like, I was told to come in here. He's like, nah. I'm like, I back away. I back away, and I just found myself another cell, sat there, and honestly, I fucking cried. I did. I was like,
DM James says it's always the quiet ones. It absolutely is. Thank you, DM James.
I cried, and it was from that point on, I was there for quite a while. There's one guy that was locked up full time. He was allowed out an hour a day. And when he was let out of his cell, we all had to be locked in our cell. I heard that the guy had AIDS or he's mega violent, whatever. But he would walk around like a lion walking around the perimeter of his captive cage.
Like pacing like a lion, like just
like looking crazy. Then about an hour, they call for him to go back into his cell, and
then everybody else can come out.
I remember this cliche is like the hot dogs and beans were they were good. Everything else tasted like shit and it sucked. When you're in a situation like that and you drop the soap, you bend over and you pick it up. That's what you do. All right, because if you don't and act like a fool, then it's just then you put a price tag on yourself.
All right, so you're getting. There was one other story too.
I was there for quite a while. A little over a month, almost 2 months, I think. But I was called out of my cell, and I had a visitor, which was like, all I could think of is, fuck, my old man. Oh no. I think I'd rather be in here. But no, I had a conversation with a bail bondsman, this good gentleman, Emery Chase, who's passed away a long time ago. And the dude was cool. He's gonna set up the bond, et cetera. They'll do whatever they have to do, and it'll probably be tomorrow. Oh, great. So I go back to my cell, all my shit's gone. My toilet paper's gone. The towel I have is gone. Just my fucking I'm there for 15 minutes, and he's like fucking stole
vultures.
Stole my shit, man. It was awful. So I'm like I don't think I mentioned this before, but I'm kind of holding it for a whole day because you get used to taking a shit at night, even when the lights are still on, when people are sleeping in a situation like that, because there's no privacy whatsoever. So I'm trying to hold it because I'm not going to wipe myself with my hands. I ain't going to do that. I do have some standards.
You do have standards.
Yeah. Shortly after that, my old man came. They posted bond, and just gave me some harsh words. I had to sell a good portion of my record collection and
comics too, right?
I was that was awful. My comics to help take for the bail bondsman itself, and after a handful of weeks, I was lucky to get a public defender who later on became a judge, and I was honestly lucky. I was super lucky to get this person.
Without doxing, I'm like, she was a good public defender.
I was lucky to get her as a public defender, and I had several meetings with her over a course of several months, and talking about everything, talking about getting to the specifics of absolutely everything. We had a preliminary hearing where, again, this girl who was a good friend of mine, she was there. This dude was there, and this girl, she lied, man.
The ultimate
She
betrayal.
lied and like, hey, what I did was wrong, absolutely wrong. No, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But this girl lied.
So the girl that you almost committed murder for because you felt so protective of your friend, not even a romantic friend, just a friend.
Good friend, man, absolutely. Just like we really cared for each other. We were good buds.
He lied. Took the side of her abusive boyfriend.
Yeah, that was like, that was another blow right there. But we end up again having several meetings with the judge, and after a handful of months, I get a bill from the.
All right. So you're getting a public defender. She's a very good public defender, but public defenders are free.
Yeah.
And you guys had many meetings, and I think you said that she was very concerned about the knife charge for some reason.
And we were talking about it. I was the second and third meeting that we had, and she expressed how she was more concerned about the knife charge
and anything else. Like
I'm thinking, I'm like, listen, I had a sawed-off shotgun. I aimed it to shoot. I had all sorts of. I had ammunition. I was vile, and I was yelling and cussing, and making
her attitude was kind of like, well,
right.
we'll deal with that. But it's this knife.
She seemed really concerned about it, and I like it clicked in my head, and I remembered that. And it wasn't until honestly many years later for my dumb brain to click it into place. But so I ended up, a handful of months later, I get this bill from her for a stenographer. It's a bill for.
Now she got the charges. Because I guess to put the bill in perspective, because you're not supposed to be charged for a public defender, right?
No, not at all. And there was no stenographer.
Not at all.
There was no stenographer. So
and there was no stenographer there, but she had gotten everything pleaded down to a couple of
5-6 misdemeanors ish. The felony charges were all gone. The gun charges were gone.
She magically made these disappear.
And it cost me $2,000 to do it.
Yep.
And but like again, grateful, man. I would have married this old lady in a second once that happened.
I remember she used to have a local radio on AM radio, like a talk show. Yeah, she was kind of famous around town. Yeah, I never had a problem with her. Yeah, she was.
But there went another chunk of my record collection, another chunk of my comic books, selling those out as fast as I could.
So she can't bill you per se, but she can say that there was a stenographer fee of $2,000.
God, it wasn't a stenographer. Fucking paid.
Yeah.
This friend, when you were telling that, reminded me of Shay from Game of Thrones. That's all I thought of.
Betraying Tyrion.
Yeah, in court.
And this, earlier we were talking about that girl that we both knew.
Mm-hmm.
She was really good friends with her. That's how I met this other girl.
Oh, really?
They were really good friends, but when that situation was messed up, I was very fortunate enough to when I went in front of the judge of finally, a lot of people that I worked with and other people in my life were kind enough to write letters and send to the judge talking about, my caliber and character and stuff like that, and that was extremely humbling. Having people really step up and say these kind things and try to help influence this decision. That's part of a series of life lessons that had to, that were really, really hard to swallow at that point in time. But I did probation for a long, and it goes into another story in regards to that. My first meeting with my probation officer, again, this big guy is 6'4". He's got hands the size of an island. He's in his like early 30s ish. I won't say his name. He brought me in his office and he gave me the law. He wasn't a dick about anything. He was really straightforward, and he was straight up. Listen, you be cool. We're not going to have any problems whatsoever. But you got to know at any point in time, you are mine. I understand that. Absolutely.
He's basically saying, show up for your meetings. Don't try to like.
Absolutely. He will check you. I will check you. I will check you at work. I will check you at home. I will check you while you're riding your bike. I'm going to do that. Like whatever, dude. Absolutely. And he was true to that for a long time. It was. He had no problem stopping where I work and making sure I was there. He'd stop and knock on the door and talk to my dad, which was not a good thing. But I went to all my appointments and stuff like that. And as time went on, we went from like every week to every couple weeks, you know. And I mean, altogether though, in regards to the charges, they lumped all the charges together. So I actually only had to do 3 years instead of like 12 or 13 in regards to a probation.
Probation. Yeah. They're served concurrently.
I served no time, thank goodness. And but my probation officers, he was he turned out to be a really good dude, you know. And I remember earlier on, you know, one of the, you know, I remember, it's difficult to remember, but it was early on when I was going weekly. I sat in there and I noticed this, you know, this woman. She was, you know, probably just a hair older than me, you know. I remember her vividly, you know. And I'm there, like, you know, I'm at this office waiting for, you know, my PO to come out and call me into his office, and you know. And I remember looking at this girl, and her very, very attractive, you know, brunette, really, you know, but like, you know, her mannerisms were like, don't notice me, you know, which, you know, like I picked that up later on. But I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God. And, you know, not too, you know, a handful of weeks or so prior to that, they caught this woman breaking into people's houses. And this is this girl, this cat burglar. You know,
she was known as the cat burglar.
She was in the news as a cat burglar. She was on a television, or taking her out of the police station, and she'd robbed so much, and that's why the news was at the police station. She broke into all these houses while people were home, which was so good. I'm like, that's her. She's beautiful. She's really very attractive. Really, you know, this petite woman. Like, but honestly, her demeanor was like, you don't need to look at me. You know, like the classic rogue, I suppose. You know,
it's like something out of a movie, you know, like Anne Hathaway's character in you know, the Batman movie.
Right.
This,
You know, like, oh my God, you know, no, yeah, it's it trails off there. Time goes on. I go to life happens and stuff like that. There's been a couple times where he had to put the law down on me, and absolutely, I had to need to pull up. And then, like, you know, I go in one day, and I still have, I'm gonna guess maybe 8 months left of this 3 years to do. And you know, I show up for my appointment. I'm waiting, and you know, the reception lady's like, "Well, who are you here to see?" I'm like, "Well, you know, I go in and you sign in and you write down who you're supposed to see." I'm like, you know, my PO so and so, and he's like, "Well, he's not here anymore." I'm like, well, where's he at, man? I actually grew to like this dude. It's like, oh no, he became a state cop. I'm like, oh, okay, well, what do I do? It's like, well, I guess you go home. I'm like, what? It's like, well, I guess you go home. So I went home and never went back. I never finished paying off the fines. I never finished off my probation. I never signed off on anything. And you know,
now the not paying off the fines came back to bite you years down the road, right?
I got a letter to put a lien on me, and I'm like, you know, I was running an apartment. And I had a beat up Ford van, you know, and put a lien on me for what? And like these unpaid fines. You know, I'm like, oh my God. So I go down to the courthouse there and go through this office, and they hand me off to this office and another office right there. And I'm finally talking to this lady. And said, listen, I'm lying. I'm being straight up. I lied. I'm like, hey, I paid these off, man. You know, I'm like, well, listen, this is you know, our files are a bit of a mess right now, but we'll go through and we'll go look through things. So she brings me into this massive room, and it's nearly out of a movie. It really is. Files and just rows and rows of file cabinets. They're just chest high, and you know, just chest high, and paper and things out of every single one of them, just hanging out all over the place. You know, slight pieces of paper everywhere. It was just an absolute mess, like a tornado hit it. And she walks me over to the section. It's like, she goes, Emily, I remember, like, good luck. So I'm like, for like 4 hours, I'm in there. You know, after a while, I'm holding a pee. I'm like, I'm trying to find everything about me. I got a lot of the information about me, but nothing about those fines being paid off. And I talked to this lady, and she's like, man, this is such a mess. I can't find it. I got this, I got that, I got this. And there's so much of my file I don't think is in here, et cetera, et cetera. And the lady's like, well, I'm sure you did, so don't worry about it. So she got this thing, and she stamped this paper, told me to take it to another office. I walked out of the other office. I gave it to another person. That person stamped it. It's like, all right, see you later. There's no more lien on you. So good luck. You know,
that kind of closed the book on that whole. That was a couple years after, right?
A handful of years after that, absolutely. It was surprising that I got that letter, but in the meantime, like that, like as everything progressed, all that stuff was going on. You know, in regards to being a stupid young man like that, all those life lessons at that point were like really solidly locked in. I'm just
now you've been able to pass them on to your kids.
Yeah, that's my Mrs. Rogan for a long time said, "Don't you talk to them about this stuff? Don't tell them. Don't tell them." Well, it's a father's duty to instill that not knowledge, that experience onto my children. So when they're at the right time, I would tell them. My boys knew before my daughter. My daughter's older. In fact, my daughter was a break from college. She came in and she was talking about things like, "You never tell me these things, Dad." So we sat down and talked about it. My daughter was floored. Absolutely, she's wonderful. She's brilliant. And she was just absolutely floored. I'm like, honey, it's like, Dad, you like, yeah, honey, I'm sorry. I'm like, don't. I hope you don't think any less of me. It's like, well, no, but you are not a good person. Like, no, I wasn't. Oh, and my wife was so pissed that I shared it. She was upset. She got really angry. My daughter still loved me. My kids still love me. I learned a lot of lessons. I was humbled, and I became shit scared, and I was never able to completely refill the missing albums, and most of the comics I was able to do, but some of those albums I got rid of, or you just can't get, But yeah, that's a life lesson. So again, there's no bragging right there whatsoever. I say that with humility, but I will say this: if there's anything that I'm proud about, honestly, that shotgun. There's a story I got a hold of that shotgun. A buddy of mine showed up with his shotgun. That's another long story about robbing a pizza place twice, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll save that one.
That's another story.
Save that one.
Yeah, I was friends with some very unsavory people, but loyal people. But yeah, I got this shotgun got in my hands, and he asked me to, what can you do to it? I'm like, I can do anything I want to it. I'm on the floor of this kitchen. There's an apartment with a handful of tools I got from like the Dollar General or whatever it is, I had a job. I made no money whatsoever, but I cobbled together some tools, and I cut this thing down. I smoothed it all out. It was, I tore it apart, cleaned it up, oiled it up. That stock I cut down, nice and smooth. You can just hold it with your hand, really, 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 really good. The bolt, holding the stock in, I cut that down perfectly. It was just absolute sweet, man. Like you look at the end of that barrel, and it was like flat. It was flush. It wasn't cobbled to the one side or the other side. There's no burrs on it. Handcrafted it on the floor of my kitchen. Like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, drunk one day. After this dude shows up.
Oh man, yeah, I can see too why you kind of fixated on that. I bet you. I mean, just probably a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears on that. Did you ever think when you were like working on that, like maybe I'll use this one day?
Oh God, no. Oh no. No,
you weren't thinking that. Okay,
specifically for my one friend, and we, that's the shotgun itself has a unique story with all the hands that it touched prior to it being back in my hands, and I got in trouble with it, but it has its own story. Maybe some other day. Yeah.
Cyrix DX. I think I know who that is. How you doing, Cyrix? Tune in next week for Once Upon a Time in Pizza Hut with Rogan. Well, you're wrong there, Cyrix, because I'm the ex-Pizza Hut guy.
Yes, he is. Hey, thanks a lot for listening to this story, by the way.
That is the quiet one. It's like DM James said. It's the quiet ones you gotta worry about. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with that. So, I mean, not a lot of people would have, but you're very candid and open, and admit your mistakes. And trust me, folks, he turned out just fine.
Just fine is right.
I'm amazed in regards to as we became friends. That started years ago. We got to know each other. Just the first thing that clicks in my head is certainly how much we have in common, not just in regards to gaming, just as the kind of people we are. But as I learned more
like the things we'll tolerate and won't tolerate.
Absolutely. And I get to know Crazymouse's life. Got to meet his family, got to hear his story. And Double D's his life and his story, got to meet some of his family, and just how different they were. Very, very different. And each of them were a bit extreme to a certain extent. It really is. I had the opportunity to talk to Mrs. D a handful of days ago, and we had talked about that, and I just marveled at regards like at a young age, you were kind of left to your own. You know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Just because of the age difference between your older brothers. And
Yeah.
such, yeah.
Well, hold on. Before we get there, Real Vector, friend of the channel, member of the channel. Here's $10 for the Rogan Defense Fund, just in case.
I'm blushing. I appreciate that.
Never know when those stenographer fees are gonna jump up on you.
Yeah.
Bill, pay it.
I was gonna say the best $2,000 you probably ever spent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was just a latchkey kid, like a lot of folks in my generation. But just things were different back then, folks. Like every Saturday, like my mom worked, so I came home from school. It wasn't alone because at least two of my brothers were still at home, when I would come home. But they were just so much older. The youngest one is 7 years older than me. The other one's 11 years. So yeah, so they would be gone like of course, after a time they were gone, girlfriends, wives. And my folks would just leave every Saturday and go out on the town like people did. It was still kind of like the 60s.
Your babysitter's Mr. Rourke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Love Boats. I remember it so distinctly.
And I think that's why, like, we joke about Barbie Benton so much, because in a weird way, she was like our first girlfriend.
Yeah, she kind of.
Yeah. A lot of those. Yeah, you're
Charo.
watching. Yeah, you're watching these. These shows.
Yeah.
In fact, I can always remember, like, my folks were gone for the Epic in Miami, which is the famous 1981 Miami San Diego playoff game. And I always tell people, I'm like, remember that game took place on a Saturday because I was home alone. That was a Saturday night game. Oh man, just so many good memories. Except there was one time, somebody did come to there was never any real incidents. I will say this: at about 11, Benny Hill would come on at 11, and that would be funny, especially to an 11-year-old boy. And it's like 11:30, and my parents still aren't home, and I'm like, all right, now I'm getting a little, now it's getting, there's nothing else really on. Maybe Saturday Night Live, would keep me company for a while. But if it wasn't a good one, I'd start being like watching the clock. But nothing ever really happened except one time some guy came to the door at like 11:45 at night. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm looking out the window, to see. And I think he was just some drunk who his car broke down. And he's like, hey, can you let me in? I got to call somebody. And I'm like, I just looked at him, closed the window, ran out the back door and up to my neighbor's house. Like, I was not playing.
Smart
I'm
move.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's some weird guy at the door, and they came down. He was gone. He's probably legit. I don't have anything to top Rogan's story. I do have a life or death story with me. I was in a vehicle whose brakes went out while going down a mountain. So maybe I'll save that for another time. That was something else.
That's a teaser.
That's a teaser, yeah. Mouse has lots of stories. It's just a matter of if he wants to tell any of them.
I got oodles.
Yeah, he does. Yes, he does.
Yeah, there's some. I feel sorry for some of these kids that just don't do anything anymore. I mean, we got in trouble, survived by the skin of our teeth, but man, so we got some stories between us. So.
And then for as long as we've known each other, and me and Double D is not a lot longer than Rogan, but it is longer. And I'll be like, did I ever tell you this story? And Double D will be like, actually, I don't know that one. And I'll bust something off for him and be like, oh my God, I never knew that. But to what Rogan was saying, it helped. Those things are kind of shaped us to the people that we are now. And it all led us down a path that brings us all together.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't have known each other, so all shit works out.
It absolutely does.
Ending on a cliffhanger. How
Yeah,
very
serious. Yeah, exactly. Very bro. Yeah, boo. Yeah. Charlotte Williams, I think she was on Hee Haw. Who's that? Charo on Hee Haw?
Barbie Benton.
Oh, Barbie Benton. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if she was on Hee Haw or not. She was on
she was.
Love Boat a lot.
And yeah, she was on Love Boat a couple of times.
She was on Fantasy Island. Some of those,
And She was in the Deathstalker movie.
Yes, she was.
Can
Someone
see her,
also
her
talked.
naughty bits.
Someone talked about Erin Gray. She
Yes.
wasn't she with like Twiggy? What was that name? Tweaky. Yeah.
Buck Rogers.
Buck Rogers,
She,
yeah.
Man, she was hot too.
She
Yes.
certainly was.
Absolutely. Wilma Deering? Was that her character's
Wilma
name?
Deering, yeah. I always remember the episode of that. The show was kind of hit or miss. There were some okay episodes. I always remember the space vampire one. That was always one of my.
Remember that Dan Tana show, Vegas.
Yeah.
And who was B? Whoever played B was good looking.
Oh yeah. Who the heck was it? I remember his friend, the guy. I can't remember his name.
Well, you're thinking of the guy's was Benzer.
Benz, yeah, it's Benzer, yeah.
The girl, her name was B, is Beatrice on the show.
I know that too,
and she was like in the show, maybe her character arc was like she was an ex-dancer or something like that, or an ex-showgirl.
Had to be, right?
Yeah.
B Vegas. B from Vegas TV show. All right, hold on. Phyllis Davis.
She was good looking.
Did you know? All right, we're gonna get a little risque here. I'm gonna keep this because I don't.
You can go rated R, but just don't go rated X. No NC-17.
Did you know Jane Kennedy from the old NFL Today, like beautiful model from like the 70s? Did you know she did like one of the very first like celebrity porn?
No, Jane
videos?
Kennedy. I'm trying to think of who that is.
I think she's black, but like light skin black.
Yeah.
She was on the NFL Today.
She was a reporter. She wasn't on the show. That's Phyllis George.
Well, no, I think she replaced Phyllis George, if I'm not mistaken. She came in after. So we're talking like early 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, her and her husband made
an adult home video.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible quality, but I guess it more or less, like, once word got out, it more or less just ruined her career.
What a shame.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she was
she had
really
fun?
pretty. Look up Jane Kennedy from back in the day. Holy smokes, was she hot. Well, let's maybe we ought to just scour the chat one last time. Saw a lot of folks here earlier. I couldn't even say, like, I know Ryan David was here. Victor was here. Pundit was here.
One of the queens was in. Charlotte's been here.
Charlotte was
no
here.
Katie. I did not see her. I never saw Panther. But when there's 1.3 million people out there, Double D, it's hard to keep track.
RPG Grandma. I have the RPG Grandpa, I think. Is this someone else? How you doing, RPG
So
Grandma?
is that? Do we have a new queen?
I think we do.
Yeah, maybe we do. RPG Grandma, is that you?
Charlotte, you don't mind sharing your seat on the bus, do you?
As long as she's in the front seat, I think. Yeah,
Eric was trying to figure out, and Travis kind of set him straight a little bit. Eric thinks he knows where I'm at the table, but I told him I'm off camera at the table. Mm-hmm. And Travis did say, well, we've seen you when you go upstairs for a drink or something like that, which is 100% correct. Mm-hmm. So, and I know that if you watch any of our live plays, starting at the bottom of the screen, that's where Rogan is. And then next to him is Gavin at the
counterclockwise.
Yeah, at the top in the Phillies outfits or the Eagles or the Flyers or the fucking whatever Philly cheesesteak wearing things he's got on that day. That's Stern. Next to him is Pew Pew. And then next to them is Double D's daughter and her girlfriend. And then next to them is Mrs. Double D. And then I'm last off camera.
Off camera.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm sitting in the spot right here, right now, where geographically, like,
I would be sitting. Yeah.
You would be sitting when we're playing. Yeah.
So, Eric, I hope that helps you out when you're trying to figure out who's who at the table. Because he was trying to put faces to names or maybe voices. I'm not sure. Eric wants us to do an introduction at the start of the next live play in a few months. Let me tell you what we're going to do. You know how, like, when the Miami Hurricanes enter the football field with that nitrous or whatever they're spraying, the dry ice? That's what we're going to do. And now
we'll do it like Goldberg with like 1,000 like sparklers, like just hitting your body all over. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we are down. I think the folks are telling us by the fact that they are tuning out after Rogan's story that they are ready to go to bed or something similar. So let us oblige their wishes. We've been going at it almost 3 hours.
Thank you, everybody, and
Yeah,
thank you at the beginning when people were like, "Welcome back, Mouse," blah blah blah. I really appreciate that. I loved it. Thank you so much.
It's great to have you back.
Thank you.
You were
Good to be
missed.
back. It's great to be back.
Yeah, dude, doing a show with your real life friends. I know it's a little unorthodox. You know, I'm a lot of great folks out there in this community, and if you notice, I'm trying to squeeze them on. I like to do them one at a time, though. I'm not huge on the like the big panel, you know, like the Brady Bunch shows. So I like to kind of keep it, you know, intimate.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like they're in Double D's boudoir.
Boudoir. The hardest thing, and Gavin doesn't have it yet, but the hardest, it's not hard for us, but by calling everyone by their stage names is so easy to me. It's like, and Gavin just can't grasp it. It is like
people are gonna know what my first name is.
God, he gave out his fiance's full name and her dad's name before, and
I'm trying to like edit these things. I'm like, that's why I'm going to start to like write down like, oh, that's why we're starting on the top of the hour.
When Gavin is here, we had to make him a cheat sheet of things he cannot do.
And that's the thing. I never, if it ever gets to the point where people have to like think about what they're saying and that, I can always edit stuff out.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, guys, if we can do the whole live play thing, you know, if you're going to cooperate by, you know, just trying to talk on mic as best you can, then we'll call it even. You know, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. We will make do. So, all right, guys. Cal, thanks again doing the yeoman's work. Cal, I think you're handling things okay. We don't have a very we have a pretty boring in a good way chat. In other words, they don't cause trouble. So if you ever need help or want me to wrench somebody else, let me know. We'll think of somebody.
Thanks for all the super chats, peeps.
Yes, thank you again, guys. You guys blow me away.
Thanks for our special guest. Came on, Dr. Greg Gillespie. Check out all his shit. You can go grab it at his website. I'll throw the banner up there real quick. It is drivethroughrpg.com. Thank you, Jeff. And also a big thanks to Eric for giving us a tour of his basement that we've heard about him fixing for a long time. And today we actually got to see it. So thank you.
That was
awesome.
sweet.
It was. Yeah, you guys are great. We love doing that too. We love our chat. It's not bullshit. We like talking with you guys. That's why it hurts us, you know, occasionally when you know, somebody goes rogue or something like that. It's like you feel it right here. Yeah, that's right. It's personal. So yeah. So we love you guys. You guys take care. I'll try to squeeze in a video of some kind. Work on it over the next couple days, maybe the weekend or something. Thanks for supporting the last video I did on Daniel Fox. Kind of, yeah. If you saw that whole thing, I kind of felt like I might have to address that, but I'm gonna let it go. He said his piece on Twitter. I said mine in the video, and you know, he can think whatever he wants. Him and his minions. I don't think his minions actually said anything yet. So if she does, I'll address it, you know, or I might not. I don't know. I mean, I will always be reactive when it comes to that, except for Garibay. You know, that's just content. So sorry.
Hot sauce on the taco.
Hot sauce on the taco. All right, guys. You guys have a great rest of the night and a great rest of the week. And we will talk very, very soon. Remember to stick around. New sponsor for the show. We also have Neckbeardia, but we also have another one too. So,
Tide Pods.
Tide Pods, yep. All right, guys, take care.
Peace.
All right.
Hey, man, is that Double D? Yeah, man. Well, turn it up, man.
Let's just go in and like kill all the orcs, right? They're the bad guys. Who gives a shit? We just hack and slash and we loot their dead bodies, right? Hack and slash, kill them all, you know, conquer the infidels.
Boy, that campaign sounds like a barrel of fun, doesn't it?
Are you just a dream?
Double D.
A dream to some.
A nightmare to others!
Somebody who's opening a refrigerator and leaning in, right, is the language of a woman. Somebody who's opening the refrigerator and being cut off halfway through that lean is the voice of like a mermaid or a siren, right?
Honey, what do you mean additional benefits? We turned 65, we got Medicare. That's all there is to it, right?
I'm talking about Medicare Part C, commonly called Medicare Advantage. We have traditional Medicare, which is only Medicare Parts A and B, but not Part C.
Wait.
Honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough.
We gotta put a little hot sauce on the taco, you know what I mean?
We want this dwarf to be the dwarfiest dwarf.
Right.
We want the elf to be the elfiest elf.
And just the dashiest dash of Tabasco.
Their voices need to carry across water.
I'm a creative. It's a huge drain, right? Because fans can be awful.
You, the one who is moving now. Answer! Experience beige.
When you say white lives matter, they don't. White lives don't matter because white lives aren't a thing.
I disagree. I disagree, Gary.
Lutherville, Marina Del X, Otisburg. Otisburg?
Who's this monster? She's got her own place, man.
Otisburg?
It's a little bitty place.
Otisburg?
Okay, I just wipe it off. That's all. It's a little town.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Great sandwich.
Thank you. I enjoyed having you here. You're a very good co-host.
In the year 2525, if all you video gamers are still alive. Hi, it's your boy Double D. That's right, I'm singing again. But this time, I am singing the praises of Powered Up Paradise and their Gameboy phone cases. That's right, this is actually a protective case for your phone, but it doubles as a Game Boy, preloaded with many of your favorite vintage video games. Ingenious, huh? Guys, let's face it, mobile games are the shits. The better the graphics, it seems, the worse the game. So go back in time, relive your childhood in a practical way. Or if you're a youngin', you can discover the addiction of the golden age of video games. Use the promo code DIVERSITY5 to get 5% off. Hey there, it's your boy Double D, and I want to tell you about a great offer from our friends over at Neckbeardia. That's right. We all love James and Megan, and I am happy to say they love us too. That's why they are offering a 10% discount on everything in their store just for my audience. If you haven't done so already, check it out at the link in the description below. They work with a fantastic 3D artist to offer you miniatures with detail you have to see to believe. No need to print anything out. They will take care of that messy and smelly business on their end. All you need to do is pick out your next character or the next group of monsters your party is going to fight. They also have some pretty hilarious subclasses for you guys that are still playing 5th edition, all for less than a cup of coffee. They have adventures, Atomic Punk 2160 by the Basic Expert, t-shirts, and a lot more. Why not support people that don't hate you? Use the promo code DND10 for 10% off your order. And remember that shipping is free for orders over 50 pounds. That's just a little bit over $60 US. Visit them today and don't forget to use the promo code DND10.